Joe Hotai. Sorry again for keeping you waiting before this episode, but we finally made it. We're here. Thanks for coming on, man. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you.
Kia ora, Cam. All good, man. Thank you very much for the reach out and your time. Looking forward to being here. It's been a while since I've sat here, but I definitely, as I was saying, I feel more relaxed not having to do all the setup. Lovely to meet your partner, Chloe.
Yeah.
And I can just come in and answer whatever questions as best I can to whatever you might have. But before we do, I brought something for you.
Oh,
it's interesting. It's funny that you mentioned about the navigation stuff. I don't know if you'll think, but it's just a little gift actually. You can, and then there's a couple of things.
Wow, thank you. Now I feel like I need to give you a gift.
No, you don't. So I didn't say anything. Well, first I brought, because you do training and stuff, so I brought, instead of bringing lollies, I brought a couple of those.
We love these.
So Chloe might want one too if you share. But
some Musashi protein bars.
I brought you this. I don't know if it's an evasion chart map. It's one of 9 that we got issued and given when we were in Iraq. If we ever had to go on the run, you'll see which part it's for in here in relation to what it is and the number and stuff. But it's double-sided. There's a whole bunch of information and stuff on there. We can maybe talk about it later because you spoke about some navigation stuff, or maybe want to talk about it during. But it opens up to be quite large, but it's something for you that you can put somewhere, have somewhere. Welcome, mate.
That's so cool.
A military map.
That is so cool, man. It's so funny. Like, I honestly appreciate that so much. I love maps, and it might seem a bit dumb, but like if I see a globe or a map, or like I'm like immediately drawn to it. And when I was talking to you about the navigation stuff, I think that's like where it comes from. So what can I have like a little bit more context into this?
So we got issued a bunch of escape and evasion maps if we needed to. So you'll see in the charts there, in the part where how they all connect. So they can be so they add more weight to your kit. True, but the good thing about it is that at least we were in vehicles. But it gives you a way or a means if we needed to, if we found ourselves on the run, to get to a place of safety. So we inserted from Amman, Jordan, into Iraq and out into the Western Desert for our area of operations. And and then it's got the other parts that up towards Turkey, and it's got Syria and all the other pieces that connect if we needed to. What I don't still have with me, or I can't find it anyway, is we're also given a what's called a blood chit. So blood chit is basically if you were on the run, separated, and you're going to risk it and approach locals to get help, you present that to them if you think that they may be friendly to you or helpful, and they'll hopefully help you get to a safe base, and then they'll receive a reward. Might be a few $1,000s if they successfully get you to where they need to get you to. It could work against you if they don't like
that's
you.
A risk, right?
It's a huge risk.
How would you even begin to gauge whether or not you should approach them, or if they're...
I think it's just depends on the situation and what state you're in, probably from a physical and mental perspective. Maybe
it's necessity more than anything.
Otherwise, you're looking to move as much as you can on your own and get to a place of safety. But thankfully, I never had to go through that. Not like Chris Ryan from the Bravo 20 Patrol who went through that, the one that got away. But thankfully, myself and the lads that when we deployed, we didn't have to use them, but still got a few items, souvenirs, I suppose you might say, and mementos from that. And that's one of the 9. So I thought I'd give you one.
Cool. I'll like check that out properly when I'm home. Like I said, it's probably sounds a bit nerdy or whatever, but I love a good map.
Good.
Like I honestly really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Like if I'm scouting out, I don't know, fishing spots, or if we're going for a walk or something like that, I love like looking at the different either like satellite maps or like for fishing, like marine charts, what's the depth here? What is that?
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
So that's really appreciate it, man. Check it out. It's a good little segue where I thought we could start like, it probably feels sort of intuitive, or at least people probably have some kind of idea of what the SAS is and what the SAS does. Like they probably do these like special high level operations that's like separate from the normal like army or other forces, and they're like you're trained to a really elite level, all of these kind of things. But like I thought I'd actually want to hear it from you, because you actually were in the SAS.
Yeah.
Like, what is it that the SAS actually does to obviously the degree that you can tell us?
Talk about? Yeah, well, they do all of those things that you've just spoken about. And I think I've heard a couple of guys that I had the privilege to serve with in Australia talk about it and describe it in I suppose a few similar ways. They're essentially the government's response to high complex situations with regards that may need a surgical approach to that. So hostage rescue stuff, that's in the wheelhouse of especially a service or SF operators team or organization like the SAS. Maritime in support of whatever those things may be, in terms of whether it's not necessarily illegal immigrants, because it's all the other stuff that's taken care of by civil authorities and that sort of thing. But if there were potentially terrorist threats against New Zealand harbours, as an example, or Australian harbours, that sort of stuff, the SAS might have a role in that. Things whereby, I suppose, the Desi Freeman situation happening in Australia at the moment, SF have been brought in with regards to the bush aspects in relation to that. So there's a variety of skills. Counter-terrorism is another well-known one, but there's stuff in the jungle, in a jungle environment, stuff in an urban environment, stuff in a counter-terrorism environment, maritime environment, places that may be typically beyond the normal scope and range of conventional forces due to a number of things: training, due to the resources that they have, due to the government's appetite to send a large or not as highly trained conventional force into that space, and needing, as I mentioned, a more surgical approach to a specific task. And by that, you're talking more about if the need to neutralise a threat within that space has to take place, then you want people that have got many, many hours and years up their belt or up their sleeve and rounds down range, to have the highest possible chance of being successful in that type of operation, if that makes sense. So a large variety of jobs that they may be brought in. Police from time to time might ask for eyes or support from a unit, whether it's a sniping capability from the observations or the shooting itself, whether it's a tracking capability to go out in the bush and try to use the skills. Obviously, you've got the dogs and stuff now as well, which enhances that. So it's fairly broad, but it's also can be quite niche and unique depending on the task or the situation. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that sums up really well. And it shows you the breadth of stuff that could be sort of applicable to the SAS. Is that, like, that breadth, is that, and there's many components to the training, but is that breadth element, is that one reason why the training and the selection needs to be so rigorous?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's definitely a part of it, because you're working, those that are fortunate to get there, you're then working in an environment where guys are always willing to put up their hand for the job. So if there's a task that comes up and it may be something that you might not have necessarily trained specifically for, but the I suppose quiet confidence is a way that I would describe it. I never saw it as arrogance from guys that were there in the unit and being fortunate to serve in there. Guys are always willing to put up their hand for the hard jobs. If there was a hard task that needed to happen, guys are, yeah, here I am, send me. Like, we'll go do that. We need some time to prepare. We need some time to get as much information as we can. We then need some time to rehearse. We then need to make sure that we've got the right kit and equipment to go do that job. Is it going to be by day, night, or is it going to be from, middle of the night or early morning, and it may lead into the day, and then it may lead into the night again? Working through the what ifs or the actions on all the different scenarios that could play out. And so that, to your point about the selection and the training, yeah, those things are rigorous. Impossible to cover everything, but they cover quite as you mentioned, a breadth and a diversity in terms of the type of work or the potential scenarios that could happen or situations that might happen, whether domestically or internationally overseas, if they're in support of coalition forces. That, the work, it's never a dull moment. And there's plenty to do. Yeah.
There's a lot in there, man.
Yeah.
And like I was saying before we started the episode, I was watching that 60-minute segment and then of the pre-selection, selection?
Yeah, selection. Yeah.
And then your reactions to it. And one thing I found interesting, because I got a bachelor's degree in psychology, so I'm quite into my psychology.
Yeah.
And there was a psychologist on there.
Yeah.
And she was also assessing. And I could imagine, and could be wrong, but one element maybe she's looking for is that like adaptability, like that context. You know how like you mentioned so many different contexts there.
Yeah.
It's like having one mindset that can sort of be applied to a few different contexts. Do you think that's one like element she'd be looking for, or a psychologist would be looking for?
Yeah, 100%. That's a great observation. I think that is a key part. So for transparency, what I'll mention is like I've never received, and I don't know of anybody that's received their selection report, not from NZ or Australia. So even though I was fortunate to get through the New Zealand one and go into cycle and do the same in Australia, I've never received them. It's not something that I've looked into. I only bring that up because I've had some questions recently about people asking, have you got because you get a course report for everything in the military. You go through a course and you'll get a report, even on basic training. I believe, from what I understand, without having seen one, there's obviously lots of meetings and stuff that happen. The psychs are involved, badged operators are involved, seasoned veterans, etc. There's also support staff who aren't badged, but they have a role to play in terms of the selection and stuff itself. But I've never seen my report, so I don't know exactly the criteria, what they're looking at, but it does make sense based on your observation in terms of adaptability, being flexible enough. Do they have the cognitive space to be able to take on board all this information and then apply it the way that they've been shown under various amounts of stress being added or things being taken away? Stresses might be individuals in your team are now out of the equation, a man down drill or whatever, or you don't have all the resources, or you can't attack from that way. You have to change and pivot and shift and all that sort of stuff. So definitely having not only the desire or the quiet confidence to be willing to put up your hand, but being willing to adapt on the fly and change is a huge part. There's a number of other things which I think, and I don't know all the details, but I can share some of them here. I think I've spoken about it when I was interviewed before by my brother-in-law about some of the psych stuff. Like there's some questions in there that I have no idea how they would have used those. But
you're like, what are you wanting to know out of this question?
And I
like my favorite cartoon. You're like,
and things like when you're on high. Couple of the ones that I remember is when I was on high. If you're in a high place, do you feel like jumping off? And I was like, that's weird. And it said just answer instinctively, naturally, whatever comes to mind. I was like, no. And then it's like, do you like teasing animals? And I was like, no. But I initially thought of that in the context of the teasing animals one. It was somebody that's just an idiot, likes to torture.
Gets a kick out of
it. Yeah, he gets a kick out of torturing animals. So that's why I was like, straight away, no. But I was like, when I spoke with some of my mates, and they're like, oh, what'd you put for that? And I was like, no. And they're like, I put yes. And I was like, what? And they're like, well, when you get a light and you're flashing the light and the cat's like this. And I was like, and then I started second guessing myself. And I was like, oh no, did I answer it wrong?
Yeah, but
like, I think I'm gonna go, he's a liar.
With an animal, that's teasing feels more malicious, right?
That's how that's exactly where my mind went. I was like, not that I thought of it then, teasing being malicious, but when I read that in the context in the sentence, I was like, they're wondering if I like to torture, being malicious towards animals. So I was like, no. Yeah. So I don't know what happened, because guys that put yes and me that put no, like we passed, we got through, we got on the cycle, and some of those guys went on to be badged. So, so it's interesting. Wasn't
like the make or break.
It wasn't the make or break.
An indicator, though.
Could have been keep an eye on this one. But so the psychology aspect, I think it's an awesome part of the units, and having whether there's debates from people that say, why should these people that have never done selection have a right or have a voice in saying who is suitable to go there or not? It's like, well, I don't think they've been brought in. They've been brought in for that academic side of things and their observations, and I'd like to think that they've got some experience in other things. And I think the female that we had on that 60-minute segment had a number of years of experience, having seen a bunch of selections and and probably been worked in other environments as well. And same in Australia, it was a male psychologist that we had there, years of experience and stuff there as well. As far as I know, they've never done selection, but they bring other tools to the table which are valuable, which value add to the unit. And I think, like with anything else, like when the unit from time to time grabs other tools to use on a patrol that are not badged operators, that haven't been through selection, that haven't done cycle, they're in the military, but they bring other skills that can help us. We can plug and play them into a patrol. So I don't see it as being any different to having psychologists that are not badged or that haven't gone through selection, because they bring a different skill set and a different perspective and a lens to the individuals that, from what they've seen, can add value to the unit overall. Yeah, so that's my take on the value of the psychs.
Observation. I could see both sides of that. Like, oh no, they haven't done this. They don't want to know what it's like. But what if it's not about them necessarily knowing what it's like? It's about like their ability to like assess your psychological state and capability to perform well at your role. It's not like, are they good at rucking or running on the beach or something?
Yeah, that's it.
Maybe from here we could sort of zoom into that SAS selection a little bit, because I think it's become, I feel like the SAS and hard selections have almost become quite famous with guys like Goggins and all this. Like it's probably way more, I suppose, known about than maybe what it was like pre-podcasts and YouTube and all 100%. That sort of stuff. But and you did the New Zealand one and the Australian one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched a video where, spoiler alert, you said the New Zealand one was harder, but with context, obviously, with all the context that you provided. But so maybe if we start off with the New Zealand selection, what does the selection for SAS look like? Could you sort of walk us through it a little bit?
Yeah, I can do my best. In terms of what it looked like during my time anyway, because it's quite different now with even just the application process is very different. So the selection itself during my time was made up of around about a 4 to 5 day, may have even been a 5 or 6 day pre-selection. So during that period, there was some, you're still being assessed. I'd say that as well. So anybody thinking, oh, that's not testing, so it doesn't matter. It all matters. So once you submit your application, once you get approved and once you turn up, you are being looked at by everybody. And then we had a period of time where we individually went through interviews with the psychs. We did a number of group activities, some individual activities, some PT, some testing of basic soldering fundamentals and navigation and that sort of stuff. So those things take place over that 5 to 6 day period. If you get through that, so some people do leave or choose to leave during pre-selection. Funnily enough, it's not difficult. You're not doing any of the sleep deprivation or any of the hunger stuff during that stage. It's fairly standard days. You might work a little bit later than a normal 9 to 5, so you might start at 7, maybe 7:30, and work through to 6 p.m. Maybe sometimes the occasional 8 p.m. or whatever, something like that. But it's pretty easy. I'll put it that way. You get your standard from memory. We had our 3 meals. We had a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we weren't wanting for food or anything like that. A little bit of activity. Once you get through that block, then you go into, and this might be helpful for some of those. So there's a few people that think, oh, wow, the New Zealand selection's only 10 days and the UK selection's 6 months and the Australian selection's 21 days. They're like, wow, which is harder, etc. So then you'll go into testing after the pre-selection in NZ. And testing, that day one, like they'll, based on the video that you might have seen as well with guys talking about it, not necessarily the one from 1998, but the First Among Equals, the more later one. Haven't watched that one?
Yeah,
that's all right.
You keep like you reference it quite a few times in your reaction. I want to watch that one, but I was watching your reactions first. But I want to watch that one.
I think that First Among Equals one is it covers way more detail, but it leaves out some stuff too in selection, which is cool. But it goes further because it follows them into parts of their cycle, the cycle of training.
Where could I find that? That's what I wanted to ask you actually. Where would I be able to watch that? Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, just on YouTube.
Sweet.
So I just typed in First Among Equals in the search on YouTube, and then it'll come up with different ones, part 1 and part 2. They're about maybe a couple of hours each long. But they're cool. Day one, you'll go through all the standard military testing stuff, your 2.4s, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, your swim test, your pack marching. There's an element in there which isn't a standard military test, which is referred to as the Hares and Hounds, which is something that the unit applies or puts onto the candidates. That's all done in day one. There's timed elements for all of that. There's set reps that you need to hit as a minimum. And if you don't meet any of those, then you're off the course basically straight away. So there's no point carrying on because you've failed to meet that requirement. Then the rest of that day there might be some additional PT sessions or whatever, but they're not necessarily part of the. It's just to break you down some more. I forgot to mention that, like, one of the interesting parts which people ask about, and a lot of people make a bit of a big deal about, is you'll have your breakfast day one, and that's Bill Bestick speaks about it. You know, get a little teaspoon of baked beans.
Yeah, it's like 4 baked beans.
Yeah,
or something,
if you're lucky. Yeah. An egg, a slice of bread, a little sausage, and then that's basically it. There's no lunch, and there's soup for dinner, which. It was just some hot water and some salt and pepper, or maybe some beef stock or something thrown in there. I think there were some peas and corn and stuff. So if you were lucky and you managed to scoop some into your Cups canteen, you got to have something to chew on. But that's pretty much it. Day one, that's it, your breakfast. That's to sustain you through the day into the night. It goes pretty late, so I don't recall finishing day one until probably early hours in the morning of the next day, which is technically day two.
Was that on that day one? Was that Morse code test as well?
Yeah, at the end, in the evening. Yeah. So, one of the things that they'll use to keep you awake just into the wee hours of the morning. And then I think after that, got maybe 2, maybe 3 hours rest before, not necessarily sleep, but rest. You're in the barracks and sorting your gear out.
Not moving at least.
Yeah. And then get up and then report for the next day. So, and then that's after that day one. So one of the realities of the New Zealand selection anyway, is that a lot of candidates tend to withdraw or quit within the first 24 to 48 hours. That window seems... Well, I was told that before I went on selection. I saw that on mine. It seems like that's been one of the things that's taken place recently, and one of the selections that took place earlier this year. I think there was something around maybe 24 candidates that started. And after day one into day two, about 20 or so quit.
Wow.
So that left 3 or 4 people. On the selection.
That's significant. Yeah, that's like
huge.
90% or something. Yeah. But what is it? Do you reckon that's like it's a reality check? Like, damn, this is actually way harder than what I thought it was.
Yeah, it is. It is a reality check. People don't understand until they're there a lot of the time. And there's some people that, bless them, like they have a really good attitude. They're like, I know it's going to be hard. Like they go, I know it's going to be hard. I know a lot of people, majority of people quit within the first 24, 48 hours. But I believe I've done enough to prepare, and I've made the sacrifices, etc., etc. They get there and then they go, actually, I haven't, and then they withdraw. So it's interesting. I don't know. Well, I don't have the answers for it in terms of what that is, other than people are underprepared and they potentially have underestimated their ability before going on to the selection. So, which does happen, and that's okay. Like, there's been plenty of times I've underestimated my ability.
You gotta be confident sometimes.
I'm too overconfident. Pride is at stake, and I say, I can do this. Oh, actually, no, I can't. I'm not very good. But so that aspect I can understand, but it just gives a bit of an indication, and not every selection will be the same. That was just for one of the ones that I heard of that took place earlier this year. But then, you've got my selection in 98 where 12 of us finished. And so there was about 38 to 40 odd that started. I think about, 12 of us completed it, and they took, most of us from that completed it. So this one here, I think only one ended up completing the one earlier this year. So of the 24, 25, 20 odd withdrew, that left 3 or 4, And then by the end of it, there was one man standing.
Wow.
Got through. So that's, he'll feel pretty good about that. I reckon last man standing to get through. But it's just an indication of how it can change season to season and year to year and selection to selection. The selection criteria essentially doesn't change. There may be some little tweaks of where they position things and timings of stuff, but overall, the main landmarks of your day one getting trashed, then day 2, 3, and 4 of open country navigation getting trashed with little food, expected to cover lots of distance, steep terrain, etc. Then Von Temsky, the jerry cans with either the dunes or the swamp, that's going to go all day or for another 24 hours. Then the 3 days close country navigation. Again, very little food. And then the 60 clicker at the end, like those landmarks, as far as I know, haven't really changed from the selection. They may tweak them from time to time, but they're fairly standard and been consistent. Why? Because, well, they work and they've proven to work for many, many years. So I don't see any reason why they would look to change it. And then Australia is very similar. But coming back to NZ, that's pretty much the flow of the course. Those day 2, 3, and 4 of the open country navigation, 3 days of open country navigation, it's hard because you've got, and all selections are hard, but it's hard, made even harder, in my opinion, for my time when I went through as a young person, because of the lack of food, because you don't get to refuel and rest and rehydrate as much as you like. You can hydrate, but you're still missing all the electrolytes through the sweat and everything.
You're just filling your body with water. It's not doing much. That's one thing I was thinking about when, like, you spoke about the breakfast, getting a few beans and then, like, basically a cup of water, which was called soup. Like, now, like, you have all these coaches and scientists and all this stuff on social media where, like, you know exactly what you need to do for a pre-workout. I need carbs, I need my electrolytes. Post-workout, I need to do this. Like, and you almost get superstitious. I'm not going to have a good run unless I eat exactly this stuff. And, like, when I was watching that, the first thing I thought was, like, man, they're not fueled to be doing that. But then the second thing I thought was, like, it shows you that you don't actually need all that stuff. Obviously, you don't want to do that every single time, but like, it shows you that the body is capable of more than what you think sometimes. Like, you don't need the perfect regime every single time.
Yeah, that's it. I agree 100%. There's a lot made of that, and like I'm no expert in that space. Like, science has a place in sports and high performance and all that sort of thing, as you would know. But in that space, for what they're looking for, soldiers that are willing to risk it all, that are going to be behind enemy lines with little to oftentimes no resupply, just having each other to rely on and their wits and the equipment and kit that they have, you're not carrying extra pieces of kit. Like, you're cutting down, you're prioritizing the mission, the equipment that you need for that, then some water and food to sustain you as much as you can. And it might not be very much in comparison to what you would normally consume.
So it's like flipping the pyramid, eh?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, what do I need? Yeah. This is for me. And what are the extra things I need?
100%.
It's like, no, what does this task need? And then, I should probably put in some stuff for me as well. For me,
yeah. What do I think? Yeah, well, I've gotten by on some beans, so maybe I can have this. So, and that's the mentality. But I get it, like, high performance, and you're right. Like, you can't sustain that for long periods of time. And I think that may be a reason why, obviously, the NZ selection and that testing phase is shorter, because they're wanting to identify, much like any selection, how weak, as an example, on the buds, Navy SEAL buds, the hills phase of the UK selection, those aspects they're all designed to really grind and break you down and to see if you can still function and still put in the work and still meet the requirements on very little. So that aspect is it's very different to what a high performing athlete that's playing either team sports or individual sports needs, because they're not going to be looking to put themselves in that sort of situation.
How can I have the most perfect situation?
Yeah. Versus the soldiers operating behind enemy lines, like, sorry, mate, you got no protein powders today, or you don't have any of that stuff.
You can't have your creatine
today. You have to, you run out of water, or there's a dirty river over there, so you can either, if you've got some puree tabs, or if you've got a means and a method to filter some of that water as best you can, if you've got the means to boil that to try to cleanse it as much as you can before you consume it, you do that. Otherwise, if you don't have all those luxuries and the ability to do that, then you take the risk to drink this and then end up with diarrhea or worse, for the sake of being able to take another step to get to where you need to get to. So yeah, it's a cool experience. The New Zealand one's much shorter, but they're all hard at the end of the day. And like you said, with the spoiler alert, if I had have done the Australian one first, I 100% no doubt would have found that one harder than New Zealand. But the fact that I did the New Zealand one as a 20-year-old, fresh, pretty much, did some labouring work, which was hard, but that was the hardest thing I'd done up until that point. Lack of experience, my immaturity and stuff there with all these other senior guys, it was definitely the toughest thing that I had been through. So I never felt like that after the Australian selection as well. So a lot of my perception of the differences, or which one was harder, a lot of that came down to how I felt at the end of the selection. At the end of NZ selection, I was pretty shattered. My feet, I could hardly walk. I wasn't really eating much. It took me a few weeks to recover. Whereas Australia, you finished the selection, we're pretty tired, lost a lot of weight, never felt the same, but we had roughly about a week or so eating, refueling, back into PT, and then back into the swing of things. So it was a big difference, but I also was much more prepared because of having been through that New Zealand experience, and then it just carried over to the Australian one, which is cool. Yeah. What about you with your with your training? Are you in that space of taking pre-workout and all that sort of stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. So
what do you have?
Oh man, it depends. Like, that's both the same. I was going to say it might depend, like running versus weights, but like I find I'm way more pedantic with running because especially if it's going to be a longer run. With weights, like, yes, I mean, I'm not going to train fasted, but I'm not going to try and like have my electrolytes in this specific thing. Like pre-run, I love like peanut butter, honey, and a banana on toast, and like glass of electrolytes. Like that's always like my go-to.
How long before you go on your run do you have that?
Within like 45 to 30 minutes, like quite soon. The only annoying thing is if you have your electrolytes too close and like mid-run, you're like looking for a toilet. And you get the toilet because like you go straight through your way. But that's why like when you're like talking about like your lack of fueling for that, I was like, man, I couldn't even imagine going for a run and not having like toast, electrolytes. Okay, yep, I got my hat, I got got my favorite shoes on, all that kind of stuff. So that's like why that really stood out to me.
Gotcha. Yeah, and, that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe I'll ask you one more question on the selection. I don't want to hang on it for too long, but were there any specific like low moments where you were really like in it and you had to like sort of have a conversation with yourself, or like it was like you took a step like into some like next level where you're like, okay, it's kind of like now or never? Was there a specific moment or like even maybe more simply, like was there like a specific like really low point throughout that NZ selection?
Yeah. Gee, that's a good question. I think probably the lowest point that I can think of, not necessarily me, but it impacted me, was when my friends excuse me, was when my friends withdrew off selection. Partly because, well, largely because they were senior to me. They had more experience, and they, I just believed them to be better soldiers than I was. And I was disappointed, but also a bit angry with them for quitting. And so they quit. They didn't get removed off because they were failing anything. They chose to leave. And I think because of my perception of them and feeling like they were, better soldiers than I was, my thoughts in and around going to the SAS was that you're going to be with men that I already accepted they're going to be better than me, but I'm going to show them that I'm going to be there and have their back regardless of whatever happens. And I was prepared to go through that. And I felt like that about them. So that's the part that where I hit the low point, but also made me a bit angry, because I was like, oh, these guys have left me and I'm still here. And so outside of that, I don't I don't recall having a conversation, like people that I didn't know. I was happy when they quit because I didn't know them. But the guys that I knew, that impacted me differently. So there's that piece. But outside of that, in terms of a low point, the need to have a conversation with myself. Can I do this? Am I good enough to get through this? I don't recall ever thinking like that. Like I had, and I think I've spoken about it before, and I've heard Jamie Pinnell talk about this. I think we had a similar mindset. He did his selection before me, but listening to him, I think he mentioned that there was only 3 ways that he was coming off as well, which was similar to mine. One was if I failed something, and so I didn't meet the standard, so I get removed. 2 was if the staff removed me, said, you are not going to be able to continue anymore. We're removing you from the course for whatever reason. And 3rd was if I died. So I hadn't heard of anybody dying on the New Zealand selection or the Australian one. I'd heard of the people tragically that had passed away in the UK selection. But those were my only 3 ways off the course, is how I felt. And it's interesting when I've listened to and spoken with guys that have made it in there, they've all sort of had similar thoughts. Like, I either fail something not good enough, but I'm going to go and I'll come back, or the staff don't want me and they say, no, not this time, mate, see you later, or if I die on selection. And I've heard a few people talk about that. I think going into selection, at least for me, with that mindset and attitude, I never found myself needing to have a conversation with myself about.
It's non-negotiable.
Yeah. So I'm either going to make it through or I'm not. So I don't, I don't have any thoughts, and I don't recall having any thoughts around, I need to have a conversation. Man, can I do this? I'm really in the hurt locker. Like, I was hurting. I was in the hurt locker like everybody else. The Von Temsky sucked. It was thing, but there were little things along the way. So I won't name the names of some of the staff, but I remember in day 2 of the open country navigation, we're sitting in the compound. One of the staff walks through and says, who's still going to be here at the end? And I was like, I'm not going to put up my hand because I don't want to draw attention to myself, but I'm not going to say no. And then nobody put up their hand, and he's walking through, and actually there were a couple of people, and he said, oh, so the rest of you are going to not be here at the end. And I'm just sitting there, just grinding my teeth, thinking, if you, I'm still going to be here. Just shut up. I'll show you. But just quietly. And then the similar thing happened just before Von Temsky. A different instructor said, oh, who reckons they're still going to be here at the end? And I was like, what is it with these instructors asking who's still going to be here? But I understood after why they asked those. It's all part of that process, because sure enough, we had a couple of people quit during those phases of the course. And because they've been through it and they know what it feels like, they're looking to weed those people out that don't want to be there, that haven't prepared themselves as well as what they could. I'm not saying that everybody needs to go on selection prepared to die. Some people go into selection and it's just not their time, but they go back a second time and they pass. So it's not uncommon for people to fail. I think Jamie, which I didn't know, Jamie failed his first selection, went back, smashed it the next time. There's been a number of people, John Bolton, but that was his 3rd one in 98, went back, got through, 4th time. Massive respect to him. Not many people go back and do a selection a 4th time. Some people struggle to go back and do it a 2nd time, especially after they've already passed. They can harbour grudges and ill feelings or whatever. But those that just that know that they want to be there, they'll run into that brick wall again and again and again until hopefully they get through. So hopefully that gives a bit of an insight. I in terms of your question, can't think of a time. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, it makes sense because you made through, like, you're not questioning yourself. And the Von Temsky, is that the thing with the jerry cans walking? I think, like, at least from the glimpse that I got with the 60-minute segment, I feel like that looked like the at least most physically demanding.
Yeah.
Would that be the case?
It's by that stage.
Sorry, could you maybe describe what it is so people know what it is first?
Yeah. So the Von Temsky is a part of the selection course where in NZ, where you're carrying all your pack, your webbing, your rifle, and if there's 5 of you, there'll be 6 jerry cans. So one person will always be carrying 2, everybody else will have 1, and from time to time, usually at the discretion of the directing staff, you'll have an opportunity to change. So you rotate through, next person will carry 2, etc. Sometimes within our team or within your team, you'll look to make that call yourselves. If somebody's struggling up the front, then it's just the next person in line, and you're just following along like a row of ants, just follow the leader, and you're following the directing staff, and they just walk and make you walk and walk for that 20 to 24 hours.
And how much did each of them weigh?
They're 20-liter jerry cans. Wow. Yeah. So on the documentary, I think it was
like 100 kilos.
He said 50 kilos.
Yeah,
I was like, 50 kilo jerry cans. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, how are they even walking with it? Oh, okay. I mean, it's still hard though. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So they're definitely not 50 kilos each. They're 20 kilo ones. I don't know where you got 50 kilos from.
That's like 100 kilos.
Yeah, 100 kilos.
That's impressive just to lift it off the ground, like walking in sandals. So.
Yeah, carrying a couple of 50 kilo dumbbells.
Yeah.
And then and you've got your pack, which is basically 35 kilos, your webbing, which might be another anywhere from 7 to 10 kilos extra, and your weapon's about a couple of kilos. So you're carrying a lot of weight on your body, and then you just walk. Where we were, it was close to a part of the ocean. And so there are times where you put the jerry cans down, you take your pack off, you still have your webbing and weapon, as you always have those on you, and then you'll leopard crawl in the sand, get a bit of water on you. Now you've got wet sand, then dry sand, and then it just gets in everywhere. So you can't help it. So there's chafing and stuff that happens. Your hands get blistered up, they're rubbing in and around your neck and your underarms and all that sort of thing. So it gets really uncomfortable, and that's intentional, obviously, but that's also parts where people just go, nah, I can't carry on, because now they're tired, they're hungry, they haven't had any sleep. Now they've got sand that are rubbing. Some people have already got blisters by that stage in their boots just from the distances covered on the navigation phase. And yeah, you're right. The timing of it is perfect because you've been smashed day 1, day 2, 3, and 4, the open country navigation. You're tired. You're running on fumes by that stage. You get to the jerry cans. You're expected to carry these things, what seems like a pointless task. I'm just going up and over these dunes and going. We're not given a map of where to go. We're just told follow that instructor.
Oh, psychologically, that's hard. Like no destination, no
destination,
no like that's. Wow, that takes some like mental fortitude, eh?
Yeah, and you're just following the staff, and they're not giving you anything other than keep up.
Yeah.
Keep up, and then they'll just head off. They've got a little backpack on. They'll have some snacks and stuff. They can do whatever they need to do. They might walk off a bit and turn around, sit down, and then just watch you, and we've still got to get to them. And then they tell us to hurry up, or if we've been too slow, then we get push-ups. I'd forgotten about those till I saw the thing, and I forgot that they made us do them with our packs on as well.
That's
and I was like,
ruthless.
Yeah, it was quite funny because it's funny some of the things that you forget.
Yeah,
and some of the things that it would be good having to a degree, not to show everywhere, but it'd be good if there was video footage of that to see how we were. There's glimpses of me and other candidates there sitting when you do get a chance to have a break. I think my name is half flapping off my J hat at the time, having a drink of water. But I think for myself anyway, I think you always think you were doing better than what you probably were. And so I think I might be thinking, it was all right.
It was easy. Yeah.
Or maybe, I'm sitting here saying, I don't recall having a moment where I had a conversation with myself, but you just think of like the Big Brother stuff. Imagine if there was a camera on me or a microphone the whole time. Maybe I did have a conversation out loud at some point. I don't recall doing that, but, it would be interesting if something like that was around. So that part to your question about Von Temsky, hopefully it gives a bit of an insight of what it's about, but also, it is, the timing of it is really well done, because it does catch you at a very low point physically, mentally, emotionally, catches everybody at just not off guard because you know what's coming, but at a point, at a crossroads where I think a lot of people start questioning, do I want to be here? And so one of the guys in that documentary whose hands he shows, he was in my group.
Yeah, that looked ruthless.
It's but I also look at that, and you would have the same, like from lifting, you get the calluses and you rip them at times, especially if you're doing heavy deadlifts or whatever, and then rip them. It's like, and it's annoying, right? It sucks, and it can sort of not necessarily put you off training, but it makes it uncomfortable to grip the bar. And I put it down to at that stage for me, because everybody had blisters, and I was like, this is just another one of those. It's uncomfortable, but it's not gonna it's not going to kill me at the end of the day. It's just really uncomfortable, and it's rubbing on the skin. Hands are becoming a bit more raw, but they'll heal.
Yeah.
They'll get over it. I just need to take another step and keep going and do what the instructors have asked. So, but some people, right or wrong, it gets in their head and they convince themselves that they can't carry on anymore. We were actually trying to speak to him because that was his second selection.
Yeah.
And we were, it's like, bro, just keep going. You'll be fine. One of the few times. And then, for me anyway, at least in NZ, and it carried over into Australia, if I've tried once to convince somebody to stay, if I know about it, and if I think they're okay, and I do that, and they're like, nah, then I switched off. I didn't worry about trying to help them anymore. I was like, well, I gave you, like, I tried. You've made your decision. I'm not going to waste any more time and energy on you. Like, make the decision or keep going. So then we carried on, and then he quit. The quad bike came in at night, picked him up, and then took him off, and you don't see them again until you get back to the unit. So because he was from battalion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is amazing how difficult things are when you're maybe a bit sleep deprived, you don't have much fuel. Like the things you can do when you're fueled, you're well rested, like your perception is so much different to when you're running low on all of those like core needs. Before we move on, I might go flick the aircon back on again.
Yeah, all good.
You can lift your little arm up too.
Oh yeah.
On here, notice like it should just be like an attention. I think you can just like lift it.
Sweet. Okay. He might use this in one of his outtakes or backgrounds while I'm sitting here with no mates, because the interview is just going, here it comes. Feels nice and comfortable. That's good.
Should cool down a little bit more. Man, okay, yeah, we should cool down a little bit more now. That was so interesting, man. I'm so fascinated by like what it takes to persevere through when the conditions aren't right. But maybe moving on from the selection stuff into your like active duty like deployment, how do you begin to describe that to someone like me who's just a civilian, like has only ever seen movies or read books or like seen videos, or like what is it actually like to be there? And maybe to like set the foundation for that, could you describe like what your deployments and stuff look like from a high level, and where you went, how long you were there? Obviously you've already given us a little insight with the map, but like could you give us a little rundown on what that looked like?
Yeah, of course. So from the military perspective, for mine it's pretty easy because it's nothing flamboyant or extravagant with regards to my time, and that's partly because of a decision that I made to leave the unit at the time. Right or wrong, that was the decision that I made, and we can talk about that later if you like. But in NZ, when I joined, it was pretty much, there were guys that had been to Bosnia, been back and forth to Bosnia. There was nothing else happening for the New Zealand Defence Force as far as any deployments happened. There were some people that went to Solomon Islands and that sort of stuff, but otherwise it was peacetime, and it was just here in NZ and then training exercises with Australia over in Oz, which was cool. By the time and that was the same when I went through, did selection, that sort of thing. Guys in the unit may have deployed to parts of the world, being part of the SAS, they might have gone away and done jobs, but I hadn't, not in the New Zealand Defence Force. So from a New Zealand perspective, didn't deploy anywhere with the New Zealand Defence Force. Ultimately didn't get badged in NZ after selection and cycle, and then went over to Australia. Deployments wise in Australia, just went to East Timor. That was in 2001, and that was only about 6 months long. We were in a place called Ballabo. I was fortunate to serve with a recon platoon there as part of 4RAR. I forget which battalion, Australian battalion we took over from when we went there, but it was a good place. We went there, and some of our jobs of what we were doing was going out and patrolling along the border, looking for, I suppose, people that would come across and look to kill or hurt or take people from East Timor. Sadly, where we were in Ballabo, that was where I think 4 or 5 journalists were killed during that time when things were quite hot and heavy before we got there. I think in 1999, 2000, when things were cooking off. So there was some history and stuff there in terms of what had happened. We had met some people that had been badly maimed by the Indonesian forces and that sort of thing that came in there that weren't happy, etc. So we were based there. There was also an SAS, Australian SAS unit based there as well in the same camp. Little kitchen area, messing area where we would all go and eat. Everybody would come and eat there. There was a small gym. There was the QRF helicopters, the Black Hawks, where we were, and our accommodation was right next to those. So we were at the bottom of the hill next to those Black Hawks. So we rotated between doing border patrol jobs, so OPs, observation posts, checking out and looking if anybody would be crossing over, likely points of crossing, markets that were conducted down on the borders in terms of bartering and exchanging goods. You'd see some armed people down in those market areas on the other side of the border, but they never crossed over. So that was a good thing. But we were also very mindful of that because we'd heard reports and information that we'd been told before we'd go out on task is that these are some of the things that we're looking for in case they did come over. But no contacts, very low key. It was more peacekeeping. It was UN by that stage, blue hats and everything. Not blue hats out in the bush though. And yeah, it was pretty sterile, mundane. Some might even say boring, repetitive, but it established some good routines and good habits in terms of what an actual conflict operation might be like, and developing good habits. So whenever you're back in base camp, deservice your kit, get that all ready to go again before you, in case you have to go. So once you were going out on patrol, if you were coming back, if you weren't on a short sort of few days R&R stand down, then you were QRF. So you're rotating from patrols to sometimes a stand down, then onto QRF, or sometimes patrols, then onto QRF, then a bit of a stand down, and then back on the patrols, QRF, and then rotating like that. So it was fairly, there was always stuff to do, put it that way, but it wasn't, I never thought of it as being a super high operational tempo, never had any emotional or psychological scarring. I felt anyway, like everybody, like nothing happened during our deployment. So very low key, but good. Worked with some really good people who I'd then later go on to selection with in Australia. We'd complete selection together. We'd go on to cycle together. We'd get badged together and serve. So that was cool. But that was East Timor. It seemed like it was over shortly after it had started in terms of that 6-month deployment. So that was good, eye-opening. And then fast forward, we come back, we trained, went on selection, got through cycle, got into the unit. And then shortly after being in the unit, we were getting ready to deploy to Iraq. So the Iraq War, 2003, we started getting ready, we deployed, and that was, even leading up to that, the pre-deployment training and everything I was like, yep, this is what I joined up for. This is why I wanted to be in a unit like this. And so we did all of that. We went over, we went out. So we were there for probably 4 or 5 months, thereabouts. It wasn't long. It was less than our Timor trip. And that was largely because of the fact that there were no WMDs found by anybody. So our mission sets and going over, a lot of build-up training at the forward operating base, lots of rounds downrange, lots of what-if scenarios, while the leaders are getting briefings on where we would be going and our areas of responsibility or area of operations. With our squadron, the different troops, how we'd be split up, where other friendly forces, where the UK forces would likely be, but we were never given exact information. Same, we're never given the exact information of where the other troops are in case something went wrong, in case we were compromised, went on the run, captured, whatever. You don't want to have any additional information because all that course teaches you is just don't get caught. Thankfully, we never got caught. Thankfully, we never went in the bag for real. But it would be, I would challenge anybody that would suggest that they would be able to hold out indefinitely with an enemy. Like, you get tuned up a bit on your resistance to interrogation courses, that sort of stuff in training. But like I said, it just teaches you don't get caught because it'll be a million times worse.
What was it? What did you say? WMD?
Weapons of mass destruction.
Gotcha.
The WMD narrative that was being pushed by the Americans and that sort of stuff, which we believed. We had no I had, and we had no reason to not believe them.
The data to say otherwise.
Yeah, Twin Towers had been attacked. Again, I never did any research on that. It's like these, bloody terrorists, this and that.
Yeah.
And so all these thoughts came through your head, and we wanted to go there to try to make a difference, try to get some of these WMDs, take them out. If forces wanted to stay and fight, then we would fight them as well to try to neutralize those things. But again, we never found any. We had, during that deployment, we went out, we would have been out in the Western Desert for probably several months, 2 to 3 months, thereabouts. After being in the forward operating base, doing the build-up training, then out. It wasn't a case of like the global war on terror, from what I've heard and understand from speaking with some of the guys, where they'd go out on raids, come back, go out on raids, come back, and do that day in, day out, night in, night out. 2003 in Iraq was very different. We had a mission set to go out. We had an area of operation, and we needed to stay out there until we had cleared that whole area and or taken out any weapons of mass destruction, or done both. And so we had cleared our area, each troop, our squadron, we had cleared our areas. Nobody found any weapons of mass destruction. We had cleared key areas of interest. We'd taken out communications places. We'd taken over air bases so that we could bring, give the US forces and that and coalition forces a bigger footprint into the country itself. So we managed to do all of that. Yep, we met some resistance and had some encounters. Probably there's really only one that I would consider a main contact during my time. We dealt with that. Got some information that pushed us onto another area. We cleared that. But a lot of the places where we went to, they were abandoned. Most of those places, the Iraqi forces either knew what was coming, or
so are they like sort of small townships in the desert or something like that?
No, so some were small bases, comms, communication bases. Some were like there's one that seemed like a bit of a petrol station type setup, but it was abandoned again. And then you had these airstrips and airfields. Some were bigger than others. And one of the ones that we took, Al Assad Air Base, was quite a significant big air base. And they had scattered aircraft all around, but they didn't look in any shape to fly. And I don't think, if they had have stayed and if they were manned, I don't think any of the Iraqi forces would have wanted to go into the air with the Americans in the air. Like they would have, it wouldn't have gone well for them. So, the Americans just dominated the air. We had all that air support if we needed to. And so those were some of the areas. Take out the communications in case there was lines of communication and forces would come. Take out the air bases to give more prominent footprint for forces and make it easier for resupply further into the country if we needed to as well. And so our job was done after a few months. We could hear on the radio, it's funny enough, on the shortwave radios, you could still hear some of the Iraqi regime saying, no, there's no Americans here, but the Americans were in Baghdad by then. They were already in country doing what they were doing. And that's where a lot of things started to shift with that urban environment and the types of tasks that just their conventional forces, let alone their special forces, were doing. The Americans, like, we had cleared our area. We're sitting out in the Western Desert, twiddling our thumbs, thinking, man, we would like to go in there. But the call at that time, the appetite from the Australian government, from my understanding anyway, wasn't such that they were willing to push us in any further. They pulled us back. We went back to our forward operating base, little deflated, but still happy about our service and what we had done, but deflated that we couldn't stay and do more, and that we didn't get, I had to go become a private security contractor before I got right into the heart of Baghdad and other parts of Iraq itself. So in the military, we never got to go right into Baghdad itself, which is where places like Sada City, Fallujah, other parts in and around, I suppose, the main built up areas of Iraq itself, where a lot of things are happening, and US soldiers and stuff were getting involved in a lot of things. So there was a lot of resistance anyway. So then we finished that, went back to forward operating base, deserviced all our kit, and then prepared to come back. And then that was after 4 or 5 months of that deployment, and then that was pretty much it as far as deployments go for me. So, and that's, because of my own silly decision, and I think to a degree, lack of humility and pride and ego, after having a taste of that, that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do anything else. I didn't want to do any other Green Army courses. Get me to do any courses for the regiment, any weapons courses, any driving courses. Heck, you could have had me just clean vehicles in camp. I would have done that. But going away doing a subject course, and like a subject course is like a junior NCO's course, and here in NZ, it's where you go where they look to develop junior leaders. Go on a course. It's usually, and it's only like 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, but there's a lot of drill on the parade ground. There's a lot of normal army formalities of things, saluting officers, marching, high arm swing, uniform neatly ironed, make sure you burn all the threads, make sure everything's polished nicely. And it's just, yeah, I understood that going into the army.
Yeah.
I understood these are the hoops I need to jump through before I can get to a place like where I was. I was like, cool, I'll do that. I was happy to go through all of that. Thankfully, the ADF didn't make me do all of that again, but I was happy to do basic training and infantry corps training and full again in Australia, just to have the opportunity to go do selection, join the unit. But they were like, oh no, you've done all of this. Come over. They let me go to a battalion, went to Timor, come back, trained, went on selection. So that was cool. But after being in the unit, then deploying on an operation, going, this is awesome. And then coming back and then going, it was a little bit quiet. I was like, well, there's still plenty of stuff to do. Like we got the kill house that we can go and train in. So the kill house is your counter-terrorism house or facilities to go and practice the craft. For want of a better term, and you use that day in, day out. Then you've got static ranges, long ranges, sniper ranges, etc. So there's always stuff to do. There's driving courses to do. There's ball weapons. There's method of entry, which is your explosive and manual. There's constantly things to do. You've got RAF airbase, PS airbase for the parachuting, jumping out into the water. There's always
so fun, man.
Yeah, there's perishable skills that you want to practice day in, day out to become really confident, but also proficient at them.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't see the forest for the trees. Like I didn't understand how busy and how involved for the next 2 decades if I had just bit my tongue and gone and finished that course. Because I went on the course, I packed the SAD and I didn't like it. And it's not like I was there on my own as well. I was there with 4 other. Yeah, I was there with 4 other guys. So I made 5. I was just trying to be careful not to say their names out loud. So 5 of us on there. It's not like I was there, and none of them wanted to be there. Like they were the same as me. Like, man, I don't want to be here. We tried to weasel our way out of it, but we couldn't. And so we went, and I didn't like it at all. I called because I'd let the instructors know, oh, stuff this, I'm going back to the regiment. Here I was thinking I could just go back, carry on with work, and then just wait for the next job. I was like, I don't care about rank. I don't care about promotion, whatever. And so they called the unit. My SSM, which is a squadron sergeant major, got on the phone with me. He surprisingly, like he wasn't blowing me up, wasn't telling me off. He was just trying to encourage me and saying, mate, just stay there. Just finish the course. I know it sucks. I know you don't want to do it, but just finish that course. I was like, no, I don't want to stay here. This is wasting my time. Like I want to come back and then just get to work. Surely there's some work and stuff there. And I knew there was work there. Anyway, I went back and then it didn't go well from there. I got my back up again. So the CO got wind of it, which is, you escalate that through the chain of command, which I didn't think of that either. It got to him. And then I had to ask to show cause. Why should I stay there? Which is a fair enough question, but I didn't see it that way. I was like, what do you mean? Why should I be there? So anyway, I got on my high horse and ultimately led to me going, well, buggies, then I'll get out. And there was plenty of opportunities. And there was to do work outside, but there was also plenty of opportunity to stay. A number of people, my OC, tried to talk me into just suck it up, go back, do it again. I was like, no, I either want to just stay here, do the work here, or I might as well get out. And so they called my bluff, I suppose, for want of a better term, but not that I was bluffing. But I honestly didn't think that they would go, okay, you see you later. I thought they'd be like, oh, okay, let him stay here.
We'll find this loophole for you.
Like, and he might change his mind in a few years. In hindsight now, it's like, I should have just done it. So, when I speak with my children that are in the army, it's like, any course you get given, just do it. Attack it, do it the best you can. Like, don't be stupid like I was. So they're like, oh yeah. So I find there's hopefully, albeit not so much value for me, but it might be value for somebody else by me talking about that and the immaturity that I still clearly had at that time. But I don't have any regrets about it. Like it is what it is. Can't change that, and things have worked out the way that they were meant to. But as to your question about operational deployments, what that was like, just East Timor and Iraq, and those were the two, and they were quite different in and of themselves. Shot myself in the foot in terms of not having the opportunity. It's not that I didn't have the opportunity, it's that I removed myself out of the equation to have the opportunity to deploy multiple times.
It's a tough one, because you're like, and like things, I'm a believer, like things turn out how they're meant to. And like, what if you stayed in there and like you got deployed again and it didn't like turn out well, like what if something happened? Yeah, you could say maybe something didn't happen, but could we go sort of like back to Iraq and that one main contact that you sort of described? Could you, I think you talked about this in the combat story, right? I think I like have an understanding of what happened, but like for people who haven't listened to that one, could we just zoom into that a little bit and maybe like describe the setting, and then also like I'd be really interested after that to understand like how you felt in that moment, but like more of like a objective kind of like lay it out first, and then maybe we could talk about that after.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll do my best, Cam. So that particular situation, a few things led up to that. We were clearing our area, and then there was a building that was seen in the distance. I don't know who saw it first, but it came through over the radio and the comms that there was what appeared to be a communications building tower, or potentially. So we moved to prosecute that target, or to interrogate it, to go see if it was. It had some antennas and stuff coming off it, so we're like, okay, maybe it's a retrans station or something like that. We went there, small building, looked like it could have had people in there, and so we moved towards that position while still maintaining awareness in and around the area. Another vehicle with a team of people were already designated that they would be the ones going in to kick the door in, which they did. They went in, literally found a couple of guys in there asleep, weapons next to them, Iraqi soldiers. So they were grabbed and brought out. Because they weren't holding their weapons, they weren't posing a threat. The guys grabbed them, dragged them out of the building, and then we could see that, or the guys could see that this is a comms tower. So plans to destroy it started to happen, and then as that happened, it seemed to happen fairly quickly. Guys are dealing with them, cable tying them, securing them, getting ready to go through, secure first and take what we could before destroying that space. But then as that was happening, that's when we saw some dust clouds kicking up, and there was 2 or 3 vehicles, SUV vehicles, seemingly coming towards us. And so when we looked and saw that, there's, enemy call came over the radio. 3 SUVs, they could have had anywhere from half a dozen or more on each of those vehicles. We couldn't really make out at that time because of the distance, or we could see all these dust trails, 3 distinct dust trails coming up, seemed to be coming towards us. Anyway, they must have been maybe, I still reckon, probably 700-800 meters.
Oh, that's quite close
from us.
Yeah, that's real close.
And demounting the vehicles, and then rounds are coming in towards us. So towards our vehicles, not just my vehicle. And then, sure enough, we're in contact. So we start advancing towards, carrying out our IAs, which is just immediate action, carrying out our immediate action, moving towards win the firefight, all that good stuff, basic conventional stuff. But also, they've brought the fight to us. We're not going to turn and run. We're going to go in case there's more to this, in case there are WMDs a bit further beyond. So, okay, let's go take these guys on. They're firing by this stage. They're launching, getting ready to set up mortars. Small arms are coming in, so 7.62. Still enough to do some damage if it hits, but thankfully we didn't get hit. It's stones and stuff getting kicked up around us. Some of the vehicles, I think, may have got pinged and hit a couple of times. Thankfully nobody got hit. And then RPGs start coming in, set on airbursts, so they're firing off, cracking off, but the ranges for those are clearly not done well enough, or they're not within range, because they're going off and exploding and landing in front of us, well short of us, probably 200 meters short of us still. Yeah. So still well short of where we are. So we're not taking effective enemy fire from those types of things. Some of the small arms are getting closer because it's a bit easier to adjust on the fly. Anyway, we're still pushing forward. So eventually we're going to end up being in that effective enemy fire range. And then, and so we're putting rounds back down. We've got far superior weapons at that time. So the 50 cals are going. I've got a Mark 19. Other guys have got their other 7.62 weapons. We've got anti-tank weapons, etc. So those are going down range. And before we know it, one of my teammates in the other vehicle, he's taken out one of the vehicles, one of the enemy's vehicles with a javelin, and then he takes out another one later. And at that stage, we still didn't know how many enemy there were. So we didn't know how many enemy were left or how many enemy we were fighting until we got right up, and they outnumbered us significantly, not including, I guess, people that weren't moving, but those that were standing that surrendered. There was easily, I think, more than a dozen still standing. So in our teams, in our vehicles, there's like 3 people in a vehicle. For what we were operating, there may occasionally be 4 people in a vehicle if you've got an interpreter or if you've got a communications expert or whatever doing some stuff in the vehicle and you're needing to distribute the weight and personnel. But we're pretty small. And so, but we had the firepower, we had the maneuverability, and we had the training and all that sort of stuff to back it up, I suppose. And so we got to a stage where the enemy, and I can't remember exactly where or when, and there's when the Mark 19, the stoppage that I had occurs, but we get to a stage in the firefight where the enemy decide to give up, to surrender. So they stop firing, they put up their hands. That could have been after some of the mortar base plates were taken out and they exploded. So it could have been as a mortar was being dropped in, or then one of the guys with the 50 cal may have hit some of the mortar charges that were sitting there and they exploded with the guys there, which may have impacted why they surrendered. It could have been when the second vehicle got blown up by the javelin, why they went, stuff this for a joke, like let's surrender and hope that they don't do anything else to us. So it could have been any number of things or reasons. Things just weren't going well for them. So they made a decision and looked to, I suppose, rely on the mercy to a degree of your enemy force, which is us invading their country. I don't know if Geneva Convention came into their minds or anything about it, but maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But either way, they chose to surrender. It didn't appear to be that they ran out of bullets. They still had grenades and other things on them, so they still had other mortar positions. They still had RPGs from what we could see. So they were still equipped with the means to continue to fight if they wanted to. They didn't look like, so they were dressed in sort of a mix of camouflage. So they weren't like your typical conventional army all in the same type of uniform, easy to distinguish. Like they were wearing different camouflage tops and bottoms. So something that a guerrilla force or an unconventional force might be using. Yeah. But anyway, they surrendered. We moved forward. But I'll never forget the looks on their faces. I don't have any nightmares or anything about it because nothing happened. But the looks on their faces, they were just pissed off. Like they looked at us with contempt. They didn't look at us like they were scared.
Please.
Yeah. There was no, feel sorry for us, please have mercy. There was no sort of look or anything like that on their faces. And they stood like staunch, stoic, just standing there, like a look on their face like, you fellas disgust me. And so those looks I remember, but it's also where my mind, to your question that you said, maybe we can talk about how I felt later. I'll get to that later. It played on my mind. It's like, man, we're about to let these guys go. Yeah. We've won this firefight. We've done what we've needed to do. We've identified who we think, and he may not have been, but who we think through the interpreter, who we think is in charge. Grabbed that person. He got bundled onto my vehicle. One of the things I don't think I mentioned in the combat story, I think the reason he got put onto my vehicle in the back, excuse me, is that the sensors.
No, this is good. The lights just turned off. It's a little technical difficulty there.
Yeah, all good. So to that point, at that stage when where was I with the guys surrendering. We're moving in, I was talking about the guy that got selected who we think was in charge. He got bundled onto my vehicle, and I think the reason is because I had the patrol commander for our team in the vehicle. He's quite a senior guy, good guy too. And he got bundled onto the back, but something that I didn't mention in the combat story part, because it actually just slipped my mind, was that the guy was telling us, he was cable tied, and he was telling us, which we found out later, was that he had a grenade on him. So his hands were tied, he hadn't pulled the pin, but it seemed to be that he was generally trying to tell us so that we could take it off him, so that we didn't think that he was going to try to use it on us. But when he was there, guys were getting ready to bundle him up into the vehicle, and whoever managed to make out, because I couldn't understand what he was saying, but I think maybe one of our interpreters, who then mentioned, and then the guys heard him, they said grenade, and they said he's got a grenade, and they bloody they left him, they threw him on the ground, and then they took cover, which is as you'd want to do, because we didn't know where the grenade was. We couldn't see it. We didn't know if I was stuck in the turret.
Oh,
so
man.
I'm in the turret. If you imagine you're the back of the vehicle, he's being put up and thrown up on the side to sit in the back there, because he can't really do much. But I'm standing in the turret, not really needing to. I'm covering him, but not really needing to do anything, because the guys are handling him. Once they hear that and they yell grenade, like, they drop to take cover. He's up in the vehicle by then, because it's a waste of time pulling him off, which is fine. I had a little bit of protection in and around the turret. There's some packs and other stuff in that there. I could have just dropped down, which is what I did. When they said grenade, and he's sitting up on a thing, I was like, what? And then I just dropped down in behind in my turret as much as I could. And then we're waiting there, waiting for a bang. No bang happened. And then he kept talking again. And obviously the interpreter must have understood. And then the interpreter said, oh, and so then they frisked him, patted him down, because we waited. It was a long, pregnant pause, waiting 1,000, 2,000. It's like a bang should have gone off by now, and nothing happened. So then they patted him down. Sure enough, they found a grenade, but he was trying to say that he had a grenade on him, so that I think, if we found it on him, we wouldn't drop him for having that on him, not telling us. So probably a little bit of an oversight in terms of frisking or searching somebody before dragging them onto the vehicle, but bless them for telling us.
Whoa, man, that was like 10 seconds or something.
It was pretty long.
Especially because you're still on the vehicle.
Yeah. So and the other guys stayed, which was good. They want to stay out of the way in case there was one. But thankfully, there wasn't. There was a grenade, but there wasn't a grenade without the pin in it. So we were safe. Anyway, took that guy. Got whatever information we could through the interpreter, and they got that information. They would have passed it up the chain, and then I think I spoke about this in there. Yeah, there was a dust storm come. We let them go. Like, what was it? The other guys we'd let go because of the brief that we received. They weren't in any position. The Americans weren't in any position to take any prisoners of war or POWs. So it was basically left up to us what we were going to do. And yeah, that's why the reactions to war crimes and stuff has been a tough one to look at, because I never witnessed it. I never saw, I never even heard, it never even came close to any guys saying. So as an example, the guys in that there, we probably all thought about it, and I know I've spoken about it with a few guys, like we all had similar thoughts. We're going to be fighting these guys again if we let them go. Now they've got a better understanding of our tactics. Now they've got a better understanding of our weapons, our numbers even per vehicle. Like, they might not be exact, but they'll have a good idea that, oh, there's a gun there, and they've got a driver, and they've got at least one person. There's at least 3 people. There may be more on the back. Whereas theirs, with their SUVs, they could have had 12, 6, 2, 1 person in theirs. But yeah, all of that information and a whole bunch more, they now have a much better understanding. They'll be better equipped to take us on, probably employ flanking scenarios, not be just so bold and attack us with 3 vehicles with these big dust, like something out of Mad Max, dust clouds kicking up behind them. They'll be more strategic next time. So thankfully that didn't happen. We didn't encounter anything. We didn't encounter a more capable or more tactically aware enemy going forward. It's just a few skirmishes, warning shots to people to stay away, because we didn't know if they were friendly or not. And those are usually from distance anyway. But that was the closest one or biggest one in terms of context that I've been in, where rounds then started coming in very close. Started off far. They weren't very accurate. Then as we were pushing forward, we naturally put ourselves more into danger, but with the intent of and confidence that we would neutralise them, or they would give up, which is what they did. So from that perspective, it was, really nothing super exciting. I don't recall, I think my brother-in-law asked if I was afraid. I don't recall being afraid at the time. One, because I just had nothing but confidence in the guys that I was with. But two, I needed to get my gun going when I had to stoppage early into the contact.
Yeah, can you speak to that a little bit? That is a crazy story, man. So you're like mid-contact, you're up on the turret, and then bullets or rounds just stop coming out. It gets jammed up.
Yeah, so the Mark 19 that I had, 40 millimeter automatic grenade launcher weapon, awesome bit of kit. I had experienced a stoppage which I'd never. We went through training courses and all that sort of stuff on the weapon, so I was confident in using it, knew how to rectify the known stoppages of the gun. But for whatever reason, I had what appeared to be a separated case stoppage. So you got the casing, the primer's on the back, you got the round is struck in the primer, it releases the round, and then it ejects, takes out the casing, and then it reloads and shoves in a new one.
Is that like roughly how big they are too?
Like, it's how big they are. Yeah, it's a big round.
What is that? That's like a few centimeters in diameter.
Yeah, a few centimeters diameter. I don't know what that is, but they're a chunky
that's huge
round.
Yeah,
really good pieces of kit. They do some damage, and it's an accurate weapon too. So it pulled out, ejected, and then went to jam in or went to put in another round, and then next minute I'm squeezing the trigger, and it just goes clunk. I was like, oh, okay, stoppage, racked the gun, didn't think anything of it. Looked inside, it appeared to be clear. So a separated case is where the back of the round, where the primer sits, is basically ripped off. It's not very common, but it's something that can happen. And we were taught it on the 50 caliber weapon, which is a different weapon altogether. We were never taught it. And there's actually a little tool that they use that you can use to get that separated case, because by it ripping the back casing off the round, it leaves the shell of the round inside the barrel, so it can't rechamber another round properly, and you're never going to get the strike of the firing pin because the parts of the weapon aren't where they're supposed to be. So we'd never been taught that, never even heard of a separated case on a Mark 19, and so that's why I'd say it appears that it was a separated case to me. It looks like from what I've been taught on other weapons, but never been taught it, never heard of it. Anyway, I didn't think anything of it. The barrel looked clear. So at initial glance, when you're going through and looking to get the weapon back in action as soon as you can, cleared it. There was nothing else there. Barrel looked clear. Didn't see any obvious casing lining inside the barrel. So I just re-racked the gun, closed the top cover, re-racked the gun, and then went to fire again. Clunk again. I was like, what the hell? Cleared it again, had a look. Didn't see it. I did this twice. Still couldn't see anything. It looks clear. I was like, okay, check the rounds, check the link. Everything's linked up properly, yet nicely. Reloaded it, racked it, fire, racked it again. You have to do it twice. Went to fire it, clunk again.
And this is all while like rounds are coming at you.
And so we're within effective enemy fire range now, put it this way. And I'm really perplexed would be one word, but annoyed, pissed off, because I'm like, what the hell? And then on top of that, my patrol commander, bless him, he's like, get that effing gun going. Rightly so too. And the driver's there as well. Driver wasn't really saying too much. He exposed himself just as much as I did to help me out with regards to the gun, because I think they knew it's not like me for the gun to not be working. Like this gun, I know this weapon, and it's been working fine, all the pre-deployment stuff, everything else. So anyway, when I clear it the third time and have a look, I can see that now it looks like there's something, like the barrel isn't as clear as what I initially thought when I first scanned and had a look. I was like, was that the outside of the round? And I'm not looking around to try to see. I'm just like this, and I put my finger in because it's cleared, but I can feel what feels like the casing.
Oh, so it's as if it's just like a ring around.
Yeah, it's a ring around. Okay, so you've got the barrel, and then you've got, which is the same size for the round to go on, obviously. And then this ring around it without the
imagine
butt.
the casing, having an end on it. Yeah. So you'd be able to, but I see why it would look clear. Because, I got you. Yeah. And
so I was like, bloody hell. And then I felt that. I was like, that's not supposed to be there. And so I said to our driver, I said, mate, I think there's a separated case. And so he had some tools and stuff, some long screwdrivers and that. in the middle. So they give me the screwdriver. And so he grabbed the screwdriver, passed it. At this stage, you know, in the turret, there's no shielding around it like what you see on some of the Humvees. So you're open, you're exposed. I just have this large gun in front of me, and then there's nothing else really.
So it's like your torso up kind of thing?
Just your torso up. And so I then used the screwdriver to start scraping out the things. So I'm having it move, and I can see it starting to come out now. And I'm like, bloody hell. So it takes a bit of time because it's stuck, and it didn't help that I assume it didn't help the other 2 rounds where it's jamming another round in. It's just making it tighter.
Yeah.
Clunk. Okay, eject that. Rack another round in. Clunk. Each time it's probably jamming it a little bit more. So it took longer than what I would have liked. Eventually got it out, long story short. And then reloaded the gun, got it going again. But that moment, which felt like ages, I'd have to ask the other 2 guys. It's not something that we spoke about after in terms of how long it took, just other than what was it, what do you think caused it? And I can talk about that later. And just good that you got it sorted out. So it's like, okay, mental note, let's pass this on in case anybody else has this situation. So anyway, thankfully got that cleared, and then we carried on. But that whole time, you know, the driver and myself are fairly exposed, but we're also confident because our patrol commander's got a 7.62 in front of him. He's putting rounds down range. The other vehicles, they've really done a good job. By this time, the second vehicle's been taken out with a javelin as well. As far as I know, I think the mortar base plate may have been taken out, or one of the mortar base plates been taken out. The other vehicles are putting down really good, effective fire onto them. So it didn't seem like, or I didn't notice taking a heck of a lot of enemy fire. Could hear the cracks. You can still hear the cracks whip past. But as far as whether or not pinging against the vehicle, I was just fixated on getting my gun going. Yeah. So I need to get this going for our team. I could have, so my patrol commander had a cool idea. Have the Mark 19, but also have a 7.62 mounted on the back of my turret. So good.
What does a 7.62 look like?
Just a 7.62 machine gun. So a bigger caliber. Our normal personal weapons are like 5.56 millimeter rounds. Your M4s. And then a 7.62 machine gun, it's a bit heavier. It only fires on auto. Yeah. And it carries a heavier round.
Is it like belt fed or something? Or like
what? Belt fed. Yeah. And so he had the idea, how about you have that and have a 7.62 for closer range stuff, like if we did end up in more of an urban built up, I could then still have a machine gun up in the turret and angle that up.
So that's on the turret as well? Okay, gotcha.
So mounted behind me, main gun in front, and that mounted behind. So I could have spun the turret around when I had that major stoppage, and even when I saw that it appeared to be a separated case on it. So I could have still had rounds going down. Some might say, oh, you know, you could have potentially got more kills or whatever up there. That was never anything that sort of entered my head. My priority was get the gun going because that's the primary weapon for that vehicle. So I could have spun it around and then got rounds down range and then sorted out the gun after. There was that option. But in that moment, I just felt like I don't know how long this contact's going to go for. Got effective rounds going down. My patrol commander is putting down effective rounds with his 7.62 machine gun or general purpose machine gun from the front. I felt comfortable enough that we got enough fire going down. I just need to get this sorted. So in case something else major happens or another main gun goes down, like how their main gun's still going and covering us, maybe my main gun can be the covering piece for them. So that in an instant, those are the sorts of things or my priorities. Right or wrong, that's what I chose to do instead of spinning it around and getting the 7.62. Also, the driver chose to help me in between cracking off a couple of 84 millimeter Carl Gustaf anti-tank weapons. Wow. He cracked off a couple of those HE rounds or high explosive rounds he fired, and then getting me the screwdriver and then hopping up to see if he could help in any other way while still having himself exposed while we're going through that, and then jumping back down once it was sorted. So the gun got sorted, happy days, gun's good to go, and I've still got the 7.62 behind me, which I didn't have to spin around. By then, not long after that, the enemy surrendered. So, which is cool. It's a good thing. But the beauty about it is having the main gun sorted out, which is one of your, it is your primary weapon. You want to have that going, hence why my patrol commander was so expressive with his language about getting that gun sorted.
Yeah. It sounds like you remain like surprisingly like analytical and like methodical, even though like you were under fire. Is that, and like that sort of came as a surprise too. Like they just drove up and like it was all on.
Mm.
Did it feel like that, or was it more like you're just running off like instinct, intuition, or like were you actually like more analytical and like calculating?
I
the
think it
situation?
was probably a bit of both. I think it was a lot of it probably heavily instinctual, like get the main gun going, prioritizing. And then as I'm taking in more pictures of what's going on, I'm seeing more clearly, I guess maybe that analytical piece starts to come in and going, yeah, the boys have got this. Like they got some good fire going down there. I don't need to swing my other gun around. I need to get this gun going because of then the analytical piece again. What happens after this? How much further are we going to need? Have they already called reinforcements to come? So I want to have the main gun going for that. So I think a combination of those, but initially and heavily, instinctively, that took over, get the gun going, and then the analytical stuff started to happen as the picture started to form a bit more, and as I took the time to have a bit of a look, because I was still having a look to see where the other team members were, and to see how they were going, because heaven forbid if anybody had got hit, if I'd have seen guys getting hit, then I probably would have spun the gun. I probably would have spun the turret around and told the driver to hop down, get out of the way or whatever. I'm going to spin and use the other gun. But because everything looked sorted and good, and then I see an explosion going off and then another explosion in the enemy's direction, I'm thinking, oh, okay, yeah, I'll just carry on with this.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you're like, you get back, you get into your bed. Like, what does it look like? How do you like process something like that? Where is your mind at? Were you like, man, that was like fun, or your adrenaline was
Yeah.
pumping, or were you like, oh, that was like very real because that's like your first like main
Yep.
contact? That like, where was your mind at like
Yeah.
directly after that?
Cool question. I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you said the word fun too, because I think, being honest, in hindsight, like not long after, it was like, this is a cool feeling. This is what I joined up for. That to experience this, to test yourself, to be tested in that environment. Not because we're crazy or whatever, but you go into that work having a bit of an understanding that there's a high possibility that you could end up in a situation, not hopefully not having a stoppage like that, but high possibility that you could be in contact with the enemy. So it was not long after, I was like, man, we're pretty pumped. We're pretty excited. What made it even better, like that would have been significantly less, and there probably would have been no feelings of that if anybody had been badly hurt or worse killed. Like, I don't think there would have been anybody feeling like this was fun. But because we had been successful, for want of a better term, in that particular contact, it was a rush of adrenaline, which made us feel good, made me feel good. So not long after, getting into bed, like I suppose there wasn't, the main thought that stayed with me was the Mark 19 and that stoppage that I had, and just replaying. I started going over. I could clearly recall who my trainer was that took us for the training of the Mark 19. I could recall all the instructions that we were given for the various stoppage scenarios: out of ammunition, obstruction, a link not quite lined up, but never a separated case. And I was replaying those things over and over again, a misfire stoppage and stuff as well. So I could recall and see all those things. But the Mark 19, I suppose maybe to a degree, haunted me, because I was like, man, if this had been a larger enemy force, or if they had have had more accurate fire, if they had been better equipped, it could have been a very, very different story.
Are you putting that like, is there a blame there on yourself, or is it on the weapon? Is it on like the training? Is it like, well, like where was this sort of, oh man, that's annoying that happened, and then like, where were you after that? Was it like a you thing? Was it a training? Like,
it was a me thing. So, my not rationale. I think I look at it as rationale now, but my process of going back and just dwelling on that from the stoppage, and then linking back to the training that I received, I could not. There was no way that I could question that the training that I received was awesome. It was good. It was bang on. It was fit for purpose. It was what I needed to do. Everything from zeroing the weapon, how to apply that, everything was great. What I put it down to in terms of there was a couple of things. One, maybe just bad luck in terms of that stoppage. I don't know whether it's 1 in a million or whatever, but that's that type of stoppage happening at that particular moment in that time. And worse, it happening to me, because it's like you don't want to be out of the firefight. And I was for that period of time till I got that sorted. And then the other aspect of that is with regards to my care and maintenance of the weapon. So that's one of the things that I started to dwell into, and got some feedback from one of the other guys on the other vehicle, senior soldier. He had deployed on other operations, but his was the 50 caliber machine gun. So he had a 50 cal, I had the Mark 19. He's senior soldier. I wanted the 50 caliber, but he's senior. He's like, he gets what he wants. Yeah. He also had the javelin as well.
Oh yeah, that javelin shot, that's insane too,
yeah, so took out 2 vehicles, and then he took out a comms tower building later. So in the same sort of area, we're still scattered around because it seemed like there were some other things, other targets of interest that popped up. We could see enemy running in and out, looked like a comms tower, and so he cracked a javelin and took out a building as well.
That feeling, man, like
yeah.
I can't even imagine what that feel like. I can imagine it feels pretty good.
So there was a cheer when he took out the vehicles during the contest. It's like, yeah. And I think the same thing happened, although I didn't cheer for the second one because I was focused on the gun. But there was definitely another one later on when he hit one of the buildings with the javelin. So and those buildings, from what we could tell, that building, I should say, from what we could tell, appeared to have people in it running in and out, combatants, soldiers that were trying to either hastily get out of there or try to salvage whatever kit they could before trying to get out of there. So where was I? With regards to the weapon and stuff itself. The care and maintenance of it. So he gave some feedback and said, because you're in the desert, dusty, dirty environment, weapons and that were covered, the weapon itself was covered, rounds and that were covered. There were periods whereby if you thought there was a potential high possibility of getting into a contact, you'd open things up and have things more accessible for obvious reasons. And I think because of the nature of the buildup of dirt and sand and all that sort of stuff blowing around, because we'd already been in a couple of pretty significant sandstorms by then, which just, even though everything was covered, it still got into everything. Yeah. So there could have been build-up in the link on the ammunition as it was being fed, which may have contributed to that. So it's that sort of stuff which then stuck with me, and I went, man, I need to be better at just making sure I'm more on top of looking after my equipment. So especially the main gun. So those sorts of things, like there wasn't anything obvious that I could see. It wasn't like it was caked in mud or sand or anything like that, but there's dust and all that sort of stuff, which was just constant presence everywhere. And so just maybe me putting it onto myself in terms of being a bit more cognizant of, we've got paintbrushes and stuff which you have to dust things off. Maybe use that a little bit more frequently. Yeah. Maybe stay on top of the gear, check it a little bit more frequently with the downtime.
Felt like stuff can eat you up, eh?
Yeah. So, and I think that's where I was. But overall, to the initial part of your question, that was in regards to the gun, but the initial question and around the contact and how do I feel after, like I felt like we did a good job. I felt like we conducted ourselves well. I felt like we fought the way that we were expected to, or the way that we expected of each other in that situation when we were numerically outnumbered personnel-wise, but firepower, tactics, training, etc. I don't think we were, without knowing who those people were, what training they had conducted. They were obviously well equipped and rehearsed in what they needed to do, though, and debussing their vehicles, setting up their base plates, starting to try to get mortars downrange, RPG positions, machine gun positions, small arms, and laying themselves out in preparation for a fight. But I don't think they expected their vehicles to be taken out. And then once their vehicles are taken out, then a mortar taken out, and some of their, clearly some of their people going down, I think in an instant, their whole picture of what they thought was going to happen just changed. And so they went, plan B, we need to surrender and then hopefully take our chances. Yeah. And then the guys, and we did what we did and let them go. But the rest is history. Thankfully, we never met them again, as far as we know. Never had to fight against them again. Never had, my troop anyway, we never had any other major significant contacts after that one. And then just cracked on with the work until we got called back to the forward operating base.
Do you think to do that kind of stuff and like to perform at your highest level in those scenarios, maybe the answer's no, but I'll ask the question anyway. Do you think you need to be like connected to the broader mission, like at scale? Like if I suppose your lives are on the line, so either way, you're still gonna in that instant like give it everything you can. But like maybe at a more macro level, do you think it's important for people being deployed to these places needing to be connected to the broader mission of actually being there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think so. Because we were all connected to the weapons of mass destruction narrative that we were being fed. When we knew what Saddam had done in '91 with regards to Kuwait, and other things that have taken place, and him imposing his will on other parts and the Kurds and all that sort of stuff, or the Kurdish people. And so when all of this information started to come out, and then they're showing satellite imagery of supposedly Saddam's forces and these weapons of mass destruction and their potential to reach certain parts of the world and certain people, we all brought into, okay, we're going over there to stop this stuff. This is awesome. And so having that connection, to your point, I think is important, because I don't know, and I'll try and give a little bit more context shortly, but I don't know that I personally would have felt like we were doing anything good without it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think there needs to be, and I think those in positions of power and governments understand that we need to give soldiers, people that are willing to go and do this sort of stuff, we need to give them good reason as to why. Because, I don't know of, and there may be some, but I don't know of any personally that are just happy to blindly go and invade another country just for the sake of it. There has to be a good reason. And
I guess my thinking is that like you couldn't say no though, right? Like if you're told.
That's a good point. You can say no, but it would be, in my opinion, my experience, it would be it wouldn't be the norm. It would be surprising. It would be filled with probably a level of risk in terms of not obeying.
Career limiting or something.
Career
like
limiting for sure.
Corporate term maybe.
Yep, 100% for sure. It could result in potential military legal action. It could result in some sort of incarceration from a military perspective. If depending, it would need to depend on what the scenario is, but or what the situation was. But given that sort of information, weapons of mass destruction, the potential to murder thousands, or potentially hundreds of thousands of lives, was enough for anybody at that time, myself included, to go, stuff that we want to go over, and we want to try to influence that not happening if we can. But if it had been a case of, we want their oil. We want their oil.
We want their resources.
We want their resources, and they're not giving us good rates, so we're just going to go and create this thing and start. Well, I don't think there would be many people, if anybody, willing to go and fight for that. So I think, again, those leaders understanding we need to paint a juicy picture, might not be the right word, but we need to paint a narrative or a picture that is going to convince these people that are willing to go to war that the reason that they're doing it is worthwhile. And if we can't give them that, then we're going to be stuck where we are. So weapons of mass destruction was a cool draw card because of Saddam's history of having used chemical weapons on people in the past. So let's play that again. Really, this is only like my position, my thoughts now, looking at it, things through a different lens, not being in the military for a while, but still having massive amount of respect, admiration for the military and people that serve. I think it's a great job. I think, if people want to go serve there, I think they should. The corruption and things like that may be happening, I'm no expert in that, but if likely that does happen, it happens probably anywhere. Based on 9/11, I believed everything that was being spouted about that, and then it's only been recently reacting to the Tucker Carlson network and the 9/11 files. I'm like, man. So me back then, being fed what I was being fed in and around what I saw, I was like, I'm in. Send me to Afghanistan, send me to Iraq, send me wherever you need to go to find, whether it's Osama bin Laden or whether it's other key players, like, I'm in.
And it would have been stupid to think otherwise, or to question the mission. When it all it seems so clear.
So clear, And I was at a stage also that I was in the military and in a unit where I'd finally made it to a unit where I wanted to be, where I felt like they could have an impact on this type of stuff. So I would have been very switched off. I know I would have been very switched off to the potential of this being a cover up, or this being a lie, or this being just some narrative that we've been fed. I would have gone rubbish. Like, look at what that clown's done. I would have lapped it, and I did. I lapped it all up, and I was prepared to deploy. So it's only been, many years later looking at it and going, wow, there's so many things that just don't make sense, so many things that haven't been answered, and it is what it is. But does that put me off the military? It doesn't, because the military, again, is the government's resource or tool, not just the SF, to go and deal with situations like that. If anything, the leaders are the ones that have been voted in to try to avoid all of that stuff. But I don't know, man, people that are in positions of power or influence, or that just seem to want more, or hidden agendas or deception, whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but I can't see anytime soon whereby wars will be avoided just because of, maybe it's because of greed or other things. Which
it's like we need to transcend to like another, like our next level
like that,
of like humanity. It's like maybe the next level is like we actually, like, for want of a better phrase, just get along better.
How good would that be?
Like, yeah, and that's what fascinates me about war too, is that it's not only till like many years later that more stuff comes out, like, oh wow, how did people actually like go along with that at that stage? But like when we were in the UK and traveling Europe, we like saw a lot of the World War II history, and I've always been quite interested in like World War II and that kind of stuff, and that just like got me thinking more and more, like, man, how can we like believe ideologies? And it all seems so obvious now. But like when that is your reality, it's not some ideology that someone is trying to fabricate. It's like this is
real.
This is very real.
And
it can be real, but like maybe sometimes it's less real than
100%.
Other times.
That's a great point, and it's interesting that you share that, because I think about, and I met a guy while I was in Australia. I was out of the military by then. I was working for the YMCA actually as a training manager, and he was ex-UK military. And he had obviously been in a number of things. I don't think he was UK SF, but I think he might have been a Royal Marine or in the Parachute Regiment. High level guy anyway, seen lots of stuff. But he spoke about, in his time and his reflection, going, man, I think of he was speaking, he thinks of the combat deployments that he went on, and how, a lot of what they were fighting over, in his opinion, probably could have just been dealt with if they had sat down at a table, maybe had a cup of tea and tried to see each other's points of view. So I think this guy had been in the Falklands, had been in Northern Ireland, so he'd seen some stuff and been involved in things. And that can be hard, when you've got conflicting beliefs or whatever, cultural stuff in that as well, or whatever those agendas are. But that's always resonated with me, that comment, because I think of people that I have not necessarily liked or gotten along with, but I've been able to still sit down with them and have a conversation, and we can agree to disagree and either move on, or we can almost at times sometimes see each other's perspective or opinion. So I think, I like what you said. It would be cool if we could transcend to another level of humanity. I like that.
I don't know what that looks like, if it's possible, but I don't know, maybe some thousands of more years of evolution might get us there.
If we last that long.
At what stage did you meet your now wife and start having kids and all that stuff? Like when you were in like Iraq at that time, were you like just single dude over there just living that life, or like had you met her already? Or?
No, we met before I did the selection in NZ.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
She was in the army.
You're how old are you? You're 20.
I'm 47.
Oh no, sorry. Then you were like 20.
20. I was 20.
Oh, wow. That's cool, man. You guys have been together for a while now.
Yeah. So she was in the army. She joined a couple of basic trainings after me. And so I was basic 295. She was basic 297. She was based in the same camp as me in Linton military camp at the time, but she worked in administration, 10 transport, logistics type stuff. And then, I met her in the army there. I saw her at. I didn't realize this. So in the army, if you're failing or if you've failed one of your physical tests or whatever, you get put on what was called remedials, PT. So you got to do extra PT in your own time, which is great. So she was on remedials.
Cracker. Did you know that at the time?
No. So she had to do extra PT. I just seen this girl at the gym, and I just said, "Oh, good on her." She's like, "Oh, she looks all right. She's training at the gym. That's good. She likes to keep fit." And then
must be working hard.
Yeah. Little did I know. I think she had failed the sit-ups or something. And it was surprising because I'd met a few. There was a few fellas in infantry that failed the sit-ups, like fit looking guys, lean guys, but just for the life of them, just didn't have the endurance to touch and go and do the sit-ups the way they were, and they'd fall well short. So then they'd end up on remedial. Some guys failed the runs, push-ups, etc. But yeah, she had failed the sit-ups, and so she was in there at training. And I thought she was just somebody that liked to keep fit.
Bringing some extra hours or something.
And so I looked at the time and I was like, oh, yes, I'll come to the gym at this time each day and see if I see you there. And I did. And each time I went to the gym at that time, she was there. And I'd see her.
And for her, it's just a coincidence that you were there. Oh, this guy's here again.
I tell her that she did the same, but she's like, I had no idea.
I didn't even look at you.
I was at that time. I was still into that stage of bodybuilding is the way to go. I didn't know any better. I was like, chest and tries and back and buys and didn't do much legs. Tried to. And so I was, she's here. I'll try and grab the heavier dumbbells, do some ego lifting. But she was like, I wasn't even watching. I didn't even see what you were lifting.
I swear that's such a common thing. Like guys think girls are looking at them, and girls are so oblivious to them even being there. And the guy's like, she's looking at them. She's like, no.
And I was like, you had to have been because we were the only two in there. I was like, you were.
She's like, I remember being there by myself.
And that she has said that. She goes, I don't even remember seeing you.
Damn, that's funny.
But that was funny. So I did that for a while. I thought I'd do that to pluck up enough courage to speak with her. Never did. Then I thought she would always come in, sign in, go on the bike. She'd be on the stationary bike, and then she'd go and do stuff. So I thought, okay, I'll come in this day and I'll go and sit on one of the bikes next to where she is. And I was like, this is my moment. So I went in. Got there a bit earlier, got on the bike. I was riding on the bike. Time started getting close and I started having second thoughts. And I'm thinking, maybe this isn't a good idea. And like, maybe I'll get off. And then as I started thinking that, she walks in, I was like, oh no. Okay, she's here now. She signed in. Sure enough, she walked over to the bike. I chose the bike next to the one that she usually rides on. And she just looked at me, had a big smile. She goes, hi. I was like, hi. And then I hopped off the bike and went down the other end of the gym.
You're like, oh man, I mucked that up.
I just, failed. And then I don't know how long later, but we would see each other out as well in the clubs and that sort of thing. I never asked her out. I don't even know what I was thinking. I've never asked a girl out anyway. So I didn't ask her out. I was there. We happened to be at this same nightclub called Park at the Bar, as where a lot of the hip hop R&B type music was. And so she was there. I tell you, it was that Macarena song. It was some dumb song anyway.
This is the late 90s? Man, that would have been some tunes. There would have been some bangers at that time.
It would have been 1998 because I met her in the year that I went on selection. Yeah. So it is late 90s.
The club would have been going off.
And that's, I was like, I don't like this song. This isn't the sort of, like they'd play that sort of music nearing the end of it when they want to get everybody out because all the darkies won't leave. Because the guys won't leave. Like they'll stay there otherwise if you keep playing the hip hop stuff. And so anyway, they played this song and she come up and asked me for a dance. And I love
this song.
I don't think it was that song, but it wasn't a song that I liked anyway. And I said to her, I was like, oh, no, not this song, maybe another one. And she's like, oh, okay. And then she left it. And I was like,
oh, what an idiot.
Giving myself, invisible uppercuts.
She literally asked you for a dance.
Yeah, she came and asked me for a dance.
Damn, bro.
And I thought that was it. Yeah, she's never coming back again. Anyway, there was some, normal songs came on, good songs came on. And I think it might have been the Montel Jordan song. This is how we do it song. And she came up and asked me again. And I was like, yep.
Yeah, I like this song.
Yeah, I like this song. So we went, and then from there, we formed a relationship from there, or we danced. And then from then she came, spoke with me again, said asked if she could speak with me. I went to speak with her. And then she just flat out told me that she liked me. Wow. And I was like, I like you too.
Like I've been wanting to say that for ages.
Yeah. And then that's when I was like, I knew it. I knew she'd been watching me at the gym. Yeah, but she still says no. But anyway, and then from there, then we just courted and dated. So I was with her. We planned on just being together before I went on selection, and then ending because we both felt like it was a single person's job. And I honestly didn't see myself married. I didn't see myself having children or anything like that. But so we agreed we'll just date each other for a while. Then once I went on selection, that was going to be it. Anyway, we fast forward. We fell in love. We had another chat and decided to try to make a go of the long distance relationship. And so we did. And then, 6 children later, she's sacrificed a lot. So she was based in Palmy when I got up to Auckland. So we were apart for about a year during that cycle. I think I maybe had 2 or 3 weekends. I come back to see her before Expressway 1 was in. So it was still taking about 8 hours, maybe 9 hours to drive to and from. Still pretty poor, didn't have the money to just jump on a plane and fly backwards and forwards. And so she stayed with me there. We had our first child before I then went to Australia. Then I deployed to Timor while I was there. So she's still back here. She was working at Trentham for a while. So she's living in Porirua, but traveling and working in Trentham. So she moved from Linton once I moved to Australia. Got a compassionate posting for family support reasons with our one child at the time to be at home in Wellington so that she could have support and then work in Trentham. So she got that. Then I got to Australia. Basically, we didn't see each other for about a year. Then when she did come over to Sydney, then I went over to do selection in Perth. So then she couldn't come over, and it's like a 4 or 5 hour flight. So didn't see each other for pretty much almost another year. We might have seen each other once or twice for a couple of days or whatever.
And in that time, like, obviously now we have like video calling and sending photos and all that stuff. So is it just like landline calls? That would be expensive too, though, right?
It was mobile Nokia.
Oh yeah.
The push 10 times to send a text message, and it was off peak hours. You got 20 minutes. You could talk for as long as you wanted, and then you hang up.
Wow.
Just in the 20 minutes, then ring up again
or something like.
No,
but
you
can
ring up again, and it was free during that off peak time.
Nice.
So
like 20-minute segments.
20-minute segments. So we'd and then that's time. Hang up and then ring back again, and we'd do that for probably hours. So that was how we were communicating there. Once I'd got over onto the cycle, and so she couldn't come over until I had passed everything and got a posting order. So I had to pass everything. I had to complete everything, get a posting order, and then the Defence Force, they're awesome, ADF, uplifted her and our daughter, brought them over. We didn't get a defence house straight away, so they put them up and us up essentially in a hotel in Perth City. We were there for maybe a couple of months. I'd travel to and from work in there. Excuse me. But they footed the bill for the hotel. And then once we got a defence housing home, then we moved out of the hotel, moved into the defence house, and then took over stuff from there in terms of getting set up. So, and then all our other 5 children are all born in Australia. Man,
what a story. That is so cool. I loved how it sort of started off with you like mildly stalking her, but now it sounds cute, like, oh, that's so cute, and it's like you're like mildly stalking for a little bit, but it's like a cute story in hindsight,
That is a good point. I've got to be careful about how I tell that. It does sound very stalkerish.
No, it's cute. I like it. And I'd be interested before we wrap up to talk to you about being a father and like what it means to be a man and all those kind of things, because you grew up single mum, right? And was it Gizzy or just outside of Gizzy?
Yeah, right in Gizzy.
Now you're here, like obviously married, 6 kids. You've done the military experience now. Like, what does being a good dad look like to you? And also, like, what do you think being a man is, especially having come from like a single parent home? Because I'm similar to a degree. Like I saw my dad like every other weekend up until I was about 8.
Right.
Basically nothing to do with him since then. And like I find that I reflect on what does it mean to like be a man, So like I sort of ruminate on that bit. But
wow. Cool question.
So I'd be interested, like, from your perspective, and now, like, what I think, like, you embody, like, what a man is, and obviously, a man is like all these different things, but like, I think a man should be like a protector and a provider.
Yeah,
I think that's what you are.
Oh, thanks, Kim. Awesome. Thanks for that. Yeah, cool question and cool perspective too. So the question around what it's like being a father, or what it means to be a father.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, there's I'll be honest, I'm still trying to figure that out, Still trying to work out how I can be not necessarily the best father or husband that I can be, but just I suppose the best human being that I can be, for want of a better term, and in terms of trying to positively contribute in some way, not just to my family, but to my community or people that I'm fortunate enough to interact with, or people whose presence I might be fortunate enough again to be in. And I think if I can try to be as positive as I can, as in terms of, when I say positive, I mean being somebody that people don't mind being around. Not necessarily like, oh, I have to be around this person, or love being around them, but people don't mind. Like, I don't want to be a person. I'd prefer not to be a person that people just like. There's people that come in and just seem to suck the life out of a room.
This guy,
yeah.
I like the baseline. People at least don't not like me.
Yeah. So low barrier to entry for me. Like, I just want to, and it's not about trying to people please either. So for me, it's just, part of being a good human is that I need to understand and acknowledge who I am, like just as a person, and hopefully that's somebody that isn't always negative. Hopefully that's somebody that isn't always looking to, nitpick at people and what they do and how they do it. Don't get me wrong, I do that stuff. Like, I judge people.
Only human.
Yeah, I judge people all the time. I judge my own children. I judge myself. I judge, my people that I love, people that I don't know. But trying to, I suppose, not be so overtly in a way, especially if I don't know the person and I'm just getting a small snapshot of what's happening without seeing the bigger picture or the greater context of either what it is that they've been through or what's just happened just before they've walked into the room or whatever, and then I've written them off as an idiot or whatever. So those things, trying to be, I suppose, have a bit more emotional intelligence around that sort of thing. So for me, being to some of the heart of your question, what is it like, I suppose, being a father and a husband? It's a blessing to be able to have that privilege, because there are a number of people that, for whatever reasons, can't have children or are not in a position to either be a spouse of somebody or have children of their own. So I don't take that for granted. That's usually, in the back of my mind, like it is a privilege. It's hard. It's challenging. All of our children are and have been very different in terms of their needs, in terms of their behaviors. There's some similarities, but overall very different. Some of them have been really frustrating and challenging for me in particular. Some of them have really challenged, well, all of them to a degree have challenged my patience with regards to them, because I have high expectations, and sometimes from a young age on them, it's been unfairly placed on them. Expectations for them to do certain things, like simple things like doing chores, and expecting them at a young age to be doing it like they were in the military, and they're going to have a room inspection on it, and like, that's folded wrong, that's not tidy enough, like there's a bit of dust here, whatever. So being a bit OTT with that sort of stuff. So when I say I'm still learning, I've needed to learn to dial back a lot of that stuff.
Say it's almost unlearning things that you've learned.
100%. Yep. And that's a good way of putting it. So learning and unlearning a lot of habits,
like meeting them where they're at, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Yeah, and my wife shares that with me too. Trying to meet them where they're at, meet them at their level, etc. And I'll be honest, it's gotten easier as the children are older now. So 4 of them are adults, and 5 of them are now, technically anyway. The 5th one, and then the youngest one has still got 2 years left in high school. But so it has been a lot easier, but I struggled a lot when the children are younger. And it's really been due to the fact that my wife has been really patient, understanding, forgiving as well. Our children have also been patient and forgiving and understanding too. And our children and my wife have both been willing to support and help me to make the changes that I've made over the years, but also make the changes that I've needed to make to not be so harsh on them with regards, especially the children, with regards to expectations and little things, not just chores, but it'd be things like if they're going to play sport, like I expected them, like, you don't want to be, and I still speak to them to a degree this way. Like I'll just be honest with them, and I say, like, you've said you want to play sport, whether it's netball, rugby, AFL, so I don't care what it is. If you're going to play it and you want to play it, it's cool that you're playing it to enjoy it with your friends, but also, you know, like me growing up, I never wanted to play sport to lose. Like I never wanted to play just to participate. Yeah. I wanted to win.
It's not just about having fun.
Yeah.
You're playing it to win the game.
Yeah, you're winning. And you're spending money for the fees and all that sort of stuff. Then you're traveling to go. Then you've got functions and events, and there's more. So there's more investment. It's a commitment. Yeah. And I wanted them to understand that. So by all means, go have fun. Do something that you enjoy. But I'll tell you this, you're always going to have more fun when you're winning than when you lose. Yeah. So if you put in time, effort, and energy, you train, you practice, become as good as you are. You don't need to be the greatest player. You don't need to be playing representative, whatever, but play as well as you can, as hard as you can for your team. You're going to have so much more fun. And I'm going to have more fun because I don't want to come watch you just get spanked every week. Like, that's going to get old pretty quick. And I'm just going to be
standing in the rain next to the rugby field. Like, no.
I'm going to say, just catch a bus. Yeah. I'll see you when you get home.
Here's $5. Yeah.
So, but I went probably out, like I pushed the kids hard because I could see that they were capable of doing more.
The potential there.
The potential's there. The fitness, the tackling techniques. So they're like, not proud of it at all, but our kids really, like, they were hurting physically with regards to the training, not through beatings or anything, but through repetition. Through the reps, do it again, do it again, do it again. Yeah, run, do that again. Run that suicide again on the basketball court. Do that again. Tackle again. Because I wanted them, when they went onto the field, I understood, like, our kids aren't the biggest, and I knew that they were going to be playing rugby as an example. Much bigger, solid, stronger people than them, and people more skillful, etc. People that had more experience. And so I wanted them to learn to know that they had the ability to do it, to have the confidence and not be afraid to go into the contact. And they did. But they wouldn't have, I don't think they would have gotten into that if I wasn't there to keep pushing them. Yeah. That's not to take credit for it because they put in the work, but I understand looking back now, I was like, man, I pushed them, way too hard now. When I speak with the kids now, they don't see it that way. They think, oh no, it was good. But, I don't know if that's just them not wanting to upset dad or whatever it is. But
you make me run some suicides again.
Yeah, he might make me do some more burpees or some exercise now if I say, oh yeah, that was terrible, Dad. But I saw them play their sports and do really well. And they managed to carry that on. Our daughter did great with her netball. Our sons did well with their rugby and basketball and that sort of thing. And our other daughter that wanted to play basketball. Our youngest, she's had it quite different to the three older ones, more so than the other three. So she's had sort of been a bit more of a free spirit. Yeah. Mum doesn't mind if they lose. She doesn't seem to
having fun and participating.
But my friends are going, my friends are going to play this. And I was like, So I was like, I've been to watch one of her games. And I went to watch a game where she said that she promised me they would win. Yeah. She says, we always beat this. We'll win. I was like, well, you haven't been winning any of these other games. You've been losing. Yeah. So anyway, we drove out towards the airport where the stadium was, where they played their netball. Sure enough, they lost. I was like, I'm not watching anymore. So I was like, we travel all this way. You told me you're going to win. She goes, yeah, well. And then she had all these excuses. Yeah. And then I'm quick to remind us, like, your older siblings never had any excuses when they lost. Yeah. Like, you're the only one. You're the only one. Always got excuses. You don't do any training. Your school is rubbish. Okay, so I have those sort of conversations with her. And my wife says, just speak positively to her. I was like, I'm just going to tell her the truth. She's unfit and her skill isn't as good as anybody. No wonder they're playing in the division that they're playing in, which isn't the higher division. So I mock her a bit about that. But she's good. So it's been interesting seeing what that's like. Our older kids that have had more of an intense, I would say, and competitive teaching and structure and thought process in and around what they do, but they've also carried that over to what they do now. So our daughter was studying law and criminology, the boys in their military career, the other one waiting to try to hopefully get into the ADF. Our other daughter, who's she's still up in the air in terms of what she wants to do. But our youngest, she has no idea. She's all over the shop in terms of what she wants to do, which is fair enough. She's still got 2 years of school left. But to see the difference in them, like for me, I knew what I wanted to do at 14 years old. Our older children have had a really good idea. 4 of the 6 anyway have got a really good idea of what they want to do, and they're executing that. 5th one is she's not too sure. She's probably she is going to be moving to Australia at the end of this year. So she knows that she's doing that, and then she wants to do some study, do some work, but she's not exactly sure of the work yet. And then our youngest, she's just like a free spirit, man. She has no idea. I'll just stay with mum and dad. It's like, if you're going to stay with mum and dad, you better learn how to cook.
You're going to do some chores around here.
You're going to do so. You're going to train. But it's been cool. Like, I have been pushing her. So I'm always mindful. Like, my wife is Samoan. There's a history of diabetes on her mum's side in her family. Polynesians typically have diabetes and that sort of stuff anyway, or it's fairly common. But and it's not all to do with genetics. So I don't subscribe to that. I think it plays a part, but choices and decisions and all that sort of stuff, and the discipline and consistency in and around those things play more of a part, in my opinion anyway. And so seeing our daughter, being mindful, and for me as a dad, to your question, what does it mean, that provider and protector? I have a responsibility. I see it as, to the best of my ability, to prepare our children, prepare them for what lies ahead, not just with school, but for life after, to try to be positive contributors to their community in whatever way, shape or form that they're able to positively contribute. And part of that starts with them understanding the need to look after themselves. And so I need them, and I want them to all understand that the better they are at looking after themselves, the more equipped they will be to look after and or help others when that time comes. So our daughter has been a bit lackadaisical with that in that space, but for the last couple of weeks, I've just spoken with her and said, listen, you're still here at home. It's not enough for me and her mum. Like, we train regularly. My wife will train Monday to Friday. I don't like missing days when I train, so I'll train. They see us do that, but that's still not helping her take the initiative. So I've been trying to give her enough rope, talk to her, give her counsel, advice, explain some of the pros and cons and what she can and could be doing, how she has the time to be able to do it, etc. Giving her really clear examples that she can relate to, but she still, hasn't been willing. She's somebody that has to be pushed. And a lot of that is because of her difference in the push that I didn't give and didn't apply to her in sports from a young age, as opposed to what I did with the older ones. The older ones, they've seen that, they'll get out and they'll do what they need to do. She's a bit different. Actually, the 5th child is probably a little bit similar to her too. She was competitive in the sports. Now she's in that stage. She's preparing to go to Australia, figuring out what she's going to do and what she's going to study. Her training and stuff has sort of dropped off the wayside. But when she's playing for a sport or playing a sport for a team, she wants to put in work. She wants to perform well. This one though, it's like, nah. So I've said, listen, while you're still here for the next couple of years, like, you are training every day. Oh, she gets Sunday off because her and her mum and that go to church. And she gets the days off when she's got training or a sport. So she's playing her sport on Tuesday, so she doesn't have to train on that day. And she's got a training session on Wednesday, so she doesn't have to train that day. But Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, she's training. And so I take her training, get her to do the stuff that she's been avoiding, just because I want her to be healthy. So she has been putting on weight, and I've let her know that. I said, hey, it's not your clothes are too tight. It's that you're putting on too much weight. You're not looking after yourself. So as a dad, I've seen that. My wife has been supportive because she knows it's coming from a good place, but I just have to remember that that I don't go back to what I did with our older children and thrash her with regards to the training stuff. So the trainings and stuff are structured in a way, just more so in and around building up her cardio and aerobic base first, and then developing some strength. She's got some little goals which she's trying to work on. Wants to try to get 1 pull-up by the end of this year.
Yeah.
So for a 15-year-old girl trying to work on that, she's quite weak at that, but she can bang out sort of 12, 15 push-ups,
solid.
Which is good ones, but her pulling strength is not there. So we're working on a few things in her, seeing her cardio and her aerobic base starting to come up has been good, and she's feeling better, and she's moving better. And for me as a dad, when I'm looking at her, she's looking better. Like, she's not, her clothes aren't squishing and tight on her anymore. And so I know that she feels better because of that.
And it's coming from a place of love, right?
Yeah,
like you don't want your loved ones to have chronic illnesses or be in pain all the time. And like, I think the world we live in now, it's hard to approach those topics.
Yeah.
But like what's interesting, like when I think about like body composition, is that if someone's getting real skinny, like we have no problem being like, whoa, you need to eat a pie or you need to whatever. Whereas like the other way, it's like,
don't talk about it, eh? Yeah. Like, just say they look nice.
Yeah. And it's like 100% how you approach it. You don't bully people or whatever, but like, I think it just comes from a place of love. And then you're trying to be the support.
Yeah.
Like I want to give you the tools because I want to see you live a healthy, long life. Yeah. I don't want you to get diabetes in 2 years because we're too like afraid to, approach this topic. So.
And just put it down to genetics or family history.
Yeah.
And so it's those are great points that you mentioned there. I agree 100%. It's almost like you can't speak about it, eh? Like I can comfortably do that with my own children, and I can comfortably do it with my friends. Yeah. If it was a complete stranger, I wouldn't say up and say, "Mate, you're fat ass. Go get on the treadmill.
Go for a run.
Go for a run. Yeah. Stop eating that. Like put that pie down, mate, and go get an apple or something." Yeah. Like I would never do that in this space. I might think that about, and I think, "Geez, man, but I don't want our children to struggle to just walk on a flat ground, let alone a flight of stairs. I want them to be able to walk and run and play and jump and do whatever that they want to do unrestricted, and not have to go through those types of things. So that's part of being a dad. There's a lot to it, right or wrong. That's my approach to it. So essentially, I'm forcing our daughter to train 4 times a week. And but the beautiful part about that for me is that I get time with her. I get to see her progress. I get to give her positive reinforcement and encouragement when she's earned it. Like I'm not just going to give it to her because good work. Like if she's been lazy or if she's making a face because she makes these faces that just make it look like it's the hardest thing in the world.
Grimacing.
Yeah, and I'm like, stop making that face. Like, and I was like, open your eyes. It's just like everything. Oh, if I close my eyes, then it'll be over quicker, or the pain will be less. And so, just trying to get her to. It's okay. Like, open your eyes. It's okay to suffer. It's okay to hurt. Your body's meant to hurt while you're going through what you're doing. Yet you're sprinting, like you're doing some intervals of sprints. Like it's going to be hard. Your heart rate's going to skyrocket. It's going to be hard to breathe. You're going to get a chance to recover. Then you'll go again, and then your capacity is going to improve, etc., etc. So helping her understand that and seeing her connect the dots to that is cool. But I am much more mindful of trying to be less aggressive than what I have been. So that aspect around fatherhood, and then I think you mentioned what does it mean to be a man? A man. Yeah, that's right. So I like to think and hope that being a provider and a protector is my role, my core role when it comes to being a male. I like to think that those are 2 things at least that all men would want to do. Other things, if I could just be those 2 things, a provider and a protector for my family, I would be happy. I'd be content. I would consider that for me being successful, whatever that looks like to different, and it might look like different things to different people. But the foundation for me hinges on, can I provide for my family? Can I protect them? And or am I willing to do those things? And will I protect them? Will I provide for them? Will I protect them? And for me, the answer is always yes. I can't see a reason as to why I wouldn't. But then those 2 things extend out to, the broader family, extended family, friends, people that I have the opportunity to meet with. So say, for example, you and I are connected. You were kind enough and said, just select friends and family when I signed in on the card. So I appreciate that. It would extend out there, but I'm also mindful of the fact that my range and ability to other people is going to be limited more so than it is to my immediate family. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that I'm going to not try to help where I could. So an example of that, I was really humbled, grateful when you reached out to be interviewed by you on your podcast. I then started having a bit of a look on some of the stuff on your channel, and I was like, this is awesome. I know the challenges, and I can connect and understand the grind and the work. And I got to see some of that today, this morning with you and your sweetheart, Chloe.
I still feel so bad. I honestly, like, I hate being late and I hate being disorganized. And I was like, I bet you this dude's going to be early too. Sure enough, 8:45 here now. I'm like, he would be here early as well, but it is what it is. We got it set up.
Definitely. And it's a beautiful place, beautiful space. Is nice to see as I was watching you go around getting everything set up, and I was thinking, this is pretty nice, not having to be the interviewer and just roll on in and sit down and answer as best I can whatever comes up. But with regards to seeing that and understanding that and having an opportunity, if it helps in some way with your channel and hopefully seeing it grow, like I'm here for it. So I like the fact that because when I had a look, a lot of it was health and fitnessy type stuff, training, which is awesome, which is stuff that interests me. But I was like, oh wow, he's had some pretty smart people on here. I was like, I don't know but then I saw one of your videos talking about, opening up conversations to other areas, and then the layers with Cam and the title, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I was like, okay, yeah, maybe then, because I think you obviously have a lot of experience and knowledge, the psychology stuff, the academic stuff, the health and fitness, physical. I think, were you competing as well?
Yeah, I did a couple of bodybuilding shows,
in the competition space, so you understand all of that discipline, all those sorts of things, and it's cool. But leveraging, I think anyway, is my take, you leveraging the experiences and skills that you have, and then opening it up and being willing to engage in conversations with other people that might have some crossover or some interest in some things, but maybe some other different experiences. I think that's a cool thing. And I was like, I'd be honored to try to come along and try to add something to your channel if it helps. And then and then just stay in touch and see your channel continue to grow, and no doubt more people be the next Sean Ryan show here in New Zealand. I think
the long-term vision,
your consistency with what you've been doing is awesome. And I think just starting like what you've been doing, how long you've been going for, and just chipping away at it, the work that happens behind the scenes, I can connect to all of that. And I'm like, I'd be privileged to come on your show. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
And thank you for the questions, the time, the thought, the ability that you've allowed me to just speak and ramble on for as long as I've wanted about
so
things.
Well, man. Like, you honestly speak so well. Like, you're such a good storyteller, and you're so self-aware, and you think so deeply about the things that you've been through. It's so much more than just like what's on the surface, It's evident that like you're very intentional, and like you reflect on the things that you do. You don't just do stuff for the sake of it, It's all like planned out and then reflected on as well.
Yeah, try to.
I think you're doing a great job in being a father and a husband and a man and like all those kind of stuff. Like, some people might say you're a hard ass, and like maybe you are, but is that a bad thing? Like sometimes being the opposite actually like might produce a worse result, like having some kind of like, I don't know, setting the vision and the tone, and like having some structure and boundaries. Like, ironically, those in the long run are actually like more beneficial than just like,
I think so.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of value to that. I love your what is it? The you make you.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, I don't know. That was just like, I sort of thought about that. Like, was it right at the start? I don't know if it was right at the start, but I thought like, what is the podcast vision? And like, that was especially evident like when I was doing the personal training stuff. Like, there was like really the decisions you make determine like your outcome, you know? And I was thinking that on like a macro scale. If you're in a good or a bad position right now, it's on you for the most part. Bad luck, good luck, whatever. But like for the most part, it's on you. But then it's also like the micro. Your alarm goes off at 5:30 a.m. It's like, you got to make you like get out of bed. So I thought that just sort of summed up. I still need to decide if that's still like is directly in line with the podcast vision. It fits in there somewhere. Like with the lifting in life, it was like way more aligned. But like I still like it.
I love it. When I first heard it, I connected with it just in my own way, but in the ways that you mentioned, like it's on me to get up out of bed. It's on me to take the next step. It's on me. I'm not in the military anymore. So for a long time, that was my identity. I'm a soldier. And that can be a hard transition to get out of. But if I want it bad enough, like I've been able to get out of that, and anybody can, whatever environment they come from. I would assume professional athletes, not that I've ever been one, but I assume they probably hold a lot of their identity in what they've been able to do in that space. And so it can be hard when you're no longer in that environment, surrounded by people of equal or higher level or whatever, to find that. And so navigating our way through that space is, so I just connected with that. It's on me to make the decisions, to push forward for the things that I want to do. It's on me. Do I want to? I could go to work. I could look to apply, go to work, but I'm very happy doing the content creation, for want of a better term, doing YouTube. So I have an opportunity, and the decision that I make to either continue that route or, abandon ship or get scared or whatever might happen. But choosing to stay in that uncomfortable space and just keep riding it out, just keep putting in the reps, keep turning up each day.
And it shows it's working though, right?
Yeah, well, I think without trying to sugarcoat it, like, it's, for me, really grateful to see how it has been working, and a testament to that. Yeah, you do it enough times, good things will happen. And so you make you. When I heard that, I was like, I connected to that in my own way, just because of connecting the dots back and thinking of my journey to get to where I am now, and the things that I needed to do to get into the military, to go to the SAS, to life after that, to do this, do that, etc. It wasn't, there's some help and support and some courses and people, mentors, guidance and stuff, and maybe, not maybe, and even luck along the way. But like you said, the vast majority, it's on me or it's on us to make that happen. So I really, I like that. I definitely think it fits within your podcast and what you do.
That's cool, man. Appreciate that.
All good.
If I could, I want to ask you one last question.
Yep.
And it's a little bit selfish. It's for my niece. She's 16. She's been in the cadets for, I don't know, maybe a couple of years now.
Army, Navy, Air Force.
Army cadets. Yeah, really wants to get into the Army. What would some advice for her be, like, from all of your experience through that system, for her, 16 years old, been in the cadets a couple of years, wanting to get into the Army? What kind of advice would you give?
That's a cool question. I think for your niece, with regards to her wanting to get into the Army, understanding what role in the Army she wants to do first would be really important. Does she want to do a combat role? Does she want to do a support, logistics role, driver role, whatever it is, administration? They're all important. Like I said, my wife was administration. So once she knows what that is, having an understanding in general of the basic physical requirements, because in the military, regardless, at least in the New Zealand and Australian military, regardless of whether you go in a combat role or a non-combat role, everybody's a soldier first. So if something did happen, you would still be all expected to bear arms, to take weapons and use them if you had to. So know what she wants to go into the military as, then work on her fitness. So just making sure that she can meet all the requirements.
She's like, a little side tangent, but she's been doing CrossFit for probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
She what did she clean and jerk like 60 kilos the other day? She's like, man. I think she squatted, sorry, patience if I get this wrong, but like she squatted at least 80 kilos.
Wow.
She deadlifted 100. I can't remember all of her numbers, but
and she's 16.
16.
Whew.
Like, it's nuts, man. I'm like,
awesome.
You're going to be stronger than me soon.
She's bloody strong, all right. So that side of things sounds like that's already in check with her fitness stuff, and just keeping herself healthy, and then enjoying that whole process. So the basic training, then her core training when she goes on to whatever that is. This is here for, she's an NZ. Yep. And enjoy the ride. Like, once you know what you want to do in the military, sounds like she knows she wants to go in the Army, but I'm not sure she knows exactly what.
She was talking about wanting to be like going to the mechanics route.
Oh wow, trades.
Yeah. So I think she's still maybe like tossing it up, but that was like one thing she mentioned.
That's awesome. I mean, the skill and the stuff for that transition wise after her military career is just, people are always going to need trade. So that's cool that she's got that down pat. Sounds like she's already ahead of the curve. Her fitness, she's already ahead of the curve, and then just put that application in when it's time. I think it's 18 years is the minimum age. So whether or not she's wanting to go in at that time,
I think she's like counting down the days.
Counting down.
Like, yeah.
I suppose that the other parts. So she's got those things. It sounds like already checked. The parts that I would share for her, like enjoy the process, but just being mindful of when she does go on basic training. It's not, for everybody it's different, but I've never met anybody that has said it's everything that I thought it would be. There's usually always, and I could say the same for me too. Like I knew it was going to be hard, and it was at that stage. It wasn't super hard, but it was challenging. There was some theoretical stuff which I needed to get my head around because I was never a good academic student. Physical stuff I loved, and I felt like I did a lot better at than the theory stuff, academic stuff, and then the different personalities. So depending on what her exposure's like, I would assume, her being at school, she gets exposed to a lot of different people. But in school, you have an opportunity, at least in my experience. If I didn't like a person or group of people, I just stayed away from them. In the army, you don't have that luxury. You got people, there may be people in her section, in her platoon, in her company that she may not like, but she will eventually have to learn how to get along with them. So keeping that cognizant, maybe she might open herself up. I'm not saying that she has to, but maybe she might practice being in groups with people that she may not necessarily otherwise want to hang out with or be with. Maybe it's a school project or something that they got to do together as a group. I only share that as an example because my daughter's working in a group on a project and stuff, and maybe not necessarily all of them like each other or get along, but the benefit when I speak with her, like that's a good thing. Like that's how life is.
It's applicable to life.
It's applicable to life.
Me and Chloe like reflect on this sometimes. We're like, when you're at uni, you're like, oh, it's not going to be like this when you get into the working environment or in the real world. Like, people are just going to all want to do the work and they're all going to be keen to do everything and you're going to get along. You're like, nah, everyone's different. Like, there's going to be people who you're not going to get along with.
100%. Yeah, it doesn't matter the environment, and the army's the same. So just being mindful of that. It is a great career, so it's awesome. Patience, did you say your name is?
Patience.
It's awesome patience. Like the military is a great career. It'll give her so many skills in addition to what she already has. She'll add a lot of value to the people when she goes in there, and the unit itself, the military itself. But she'll come away with lifelong friends, skills and abilities, soft skills people might call them, technical skills. Obviously, if she goes into the trades, that she'll be able to apply and have with her for the rest of her life, and to just enjoy it. If it's something that she wants to do, it sounds like she'll enjoy it. If she's enjoying thrashing herself in CrossFit and doing all that sort of stuff, I think she'll really enjoy the military.
She's been loving her cadet stuff as well. She Anzac Day earlier this year, she gave a speech at like the
Dawn service.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Nuts, man. So she just got a promotion. I can't remember.
What's the interest? Is it family? Has she got family in the army, or what's the?
I don't know. I'm not sure exactly like what spurred it, but no, we don't have like anyone immediate at least that's in the military or the army or anything.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, it sounds like, for what it's worth, the stuff that I've spoken about sounds like she's well ahead of the curve. I mean, just her having the desire to want to be there. Checks 90, in my opinion, my experience, checks 99+% of the boxes for her reasons for going in, and then the other 1% is going to be some of the personalities, some of the instruction that you get from different instructors, the contradictions that'll happen at times, my fault, your mistake, and all that sort of stuff that's going to happen. Hurry up and wait, a whole bunch of things that if she's not already exposed to them now in the cadets, which she probably is, I think she's well. It sounds like she's well and truly on her way. So hopefully that helps. Patience. Sounds like you've got everything sorted anyway.
Yeah, cool. All right. Lastly, if people want to check you out, I guess YouTube, that's sort of your main platform, eh?
Yeah, that's the main platform. I have got an Instagram, but I hardly use it. Go on there from time to time. But yes, just the Go Always a Little Further YouTube channel. And I like that quote from the poem that the unit uses. I don't know the whole poem off by heart, but I understand the meaning of it, or at least my interpretation of the meaning for it, and the need to go always a little further, regardless of what those circumstances and situations are. So that's the channel. And people have been kind enough to stop by and leave some comments and stuff on there, or watch for a little bit, and the support has been awesome. So thank you for reaching out. Thank you for the opportunity. Lovely to meet your partner, man. Chloe, as well. Thank you for the time and patience that you've shared, given me in this interview today.
Oh, I've loved it.
Really appreciate it.
It's 2.5 hours.
Wow.
We're done. I appreciate you, man. Yeah, that was awesome.
Far out, man. That was so cool.
Cool. That was really enjoyable, man. Well,
thank you, bro.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, likewise. So that map, if you open it up.
Oh yeah, this is so sick, by the way. Far out. I really wasn't expecting any kind of gift.
It's more of a aeronautical map given, so we didn't really. It's meant for an emergency situation, but having so many of them is not ideal, and it's double-sided. Yeah, so it's got some, like, just a whole bunch of useful information in terms of where you are, navigational aids for at night time, plants and stuff, and what you can look out for if you're on the run, and things that you might be able to eat in those areas. Obviously, not for here, but excuse me, edibility test, which you can go through when so you don't poison yourself and eat something and die. And then just put some information with the legend and stuff.
So would this be like you carry this with you, like in your pack?
Yeah. So these are in packs, 9 of them, all folded up, pretty much.
Also,
to the size that
9, they're different ones. So 9 unique. Oh,
yes, 9 mats. So
I thought you meant 9 of this specific one. Oh wow.
So 9 of these. So this chart here for NI37C is this one. So it only captures that area. And so I've got all the other ones which capture and make up the whole lot down to Kuwait. So